gentlemen, welcome to the Game Informer Show, a weekly video game podcast releasing every Thursday. I am your host, Alex Stadnik, and as always, I am honored to be joined by my illustrious, my notorious coworker, friend, Alex Van Aken.
Brother.
Hello.
Yeah,
brother.
my brother. Yeah, hey,
Hello, brother. Hello. Thanks for having me, Alex.
We got to talk because you chose your brother's wedding over the podcast. Like,
Yeah, I
what?
watched the first 5 minutes last week to see if you're gonna trash talk me, and you did.
Of course we did.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we?
Yeah. So watch your back. That's all I'll say.
Like right now or later?
Later.
Always.
He knows where you live.
When you least expect it.
Well, now I'm gonna
Maybe I'll be
expect
there.
it. Okay.
Maybe I won't.
It's like when someone says there's a twist in the movie. Now I'm expecting the twist.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
But the twist is there's no twist.
Or
But the twist is the knife in your
exactly. It's a knife.
Brother. I hope it's
Brother.
not. Oh, we're having fun, folks. Join us each episode alongside a rotating crew of GI editors and guests from around the industry as we discuss the latest news, reviews, and big man swag your eyes and ears can handle. Little spoilers, but we have two very awesome people on the show today. And we are going to talk about Sifu, Forspoken, and Game of the Year 2021. That's right, folks. We are finally here. But first, let's introduce the panel. King of Late Night, John Carson, in the
What
building.
up?
Hello, sir.
How's it going? It's been so long. I feel like it's been at least a week since we've talked.
At least.
At
Actually,
least.
what's the last video I did with you?
It was the Game Awards episode last week, I think.
Oh, okay. Gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Otherwise, I've been in hiding. I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy this week and getting some writing done. But
Okay. We like
yeah.
that. We like that. And then the Queen of Indies, Jill Grote. Hello.
Wow, that's an impressive title.
I was like, I gotta come up with a nickname because I don't have one, and I just threw it out there. You like it? How do we feel about that?
It's good. Let's pump it up. Let's go Empress. Let's go
Oh,
higher. Let's
yes.
go.
Yes, yes, the Overlord of Indies.
Yes.
I
I'm
love
looking
it.
up
You do-
emperor synonyms. Anything that starts with an I. Imperator.
Oh, that
That's-
sounds
that
imposing.
sounds-
Imperator was a Roman title. That's where it comes from.
Oh, so I said it wrong. Imperator.
Knowledge.
Because you went to school for
Well,
that.
no, I did. That was something
For
that
being a Roman leader?
I did.
That's never heard of that before.
It's a
history.
fantastic program. Yeah.
So Imperator.
Yeah. Imperator.
Imperator of Indies.
We need to
Yeah.
get you playing some Warhammer games, my friend. I'm
Okay.
sure that's all over those.
If Henry Cavill will show up,
Oh,
Hey, sure.
there we go.
I'm down.
He'll
We'll
build
send an
the set.
email.
Yeah. I love it. Well, thank y'all for joining us this week. Viewers, listeners, thank you for joining us as well. We have a lovely show planned for you today because we announced our Game of the Year. That's right, our top 10 games
What?
and our Game of the Year. And if you want the full list, you can go over to GameInformer.com or YouTube.com/GameInformer. We spell it the whole top 10. Do we want to say here what our Game of the Year is, even though it's public knowledge, or do we want people to go and
Yeah.
check?
I think we can list them. They can still go read why.
Yeah.
Because
right.
there's like written blurbs
Good call.
with
Good
each
call.
one.
Yeah. So how this segment's going to work, though, is for the next, for sure, week or two, we're going to get as many of the GI editorial staff on to talk about their top 10s, but we'll start this with what we as a group decided on for our top 10, because there's two ways to do it. We came together, some of the best gaming journalist minds in the industry. We duked it out for what should be on the top 10. So that's the list that's out now, but each individual person has their own top 10 as kind of a thing to say, you know, maybe Tales of Arise didn't make it here, but I have it on my list here at X number. So anyone needing some Tales of Arise love, I saw that in the Discord. People were a little surprised, but there's people who have it on their list.
Oh, yeah.
We try to do it as mathematically as possible, if that's even possible, but you know,
It is.
There's
Math is-
science.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can actually do
Obvious.
math. We know math.
We know
Mhm.
math. We math
much.
the best. Yeah. But our top 10 list as it stands right now, GI wise, is Psychonauts 2, number 10, Inscription, number 9, It Takes Two, number 8, Horizon, I almost said Zero Dawn, what's a Horizon 5 at number 7, Life is Strange: True Colors at number 6. Metroid Dread at 5. Returnal at 4. Start doing a drum roll, please. Resident Evil Village at 3. I love that none of the mics are picking that up. Thank you. Deathloop at 2. And then Game of the Year 2021. That's right, folks. Halo freaking Infinite. We did it. We got it. It's a beautiful game. It's something that Halo fans have been waiting for a long time. Our crew was very, very impressed with what 343 was able to accomplish, all that feedback they took from the last couple of games, and really made something special. So absolutely shout out to 343 and all the studios that made these amazing games, right? Like, this is a great year for games, and this was really hard to pick this list because there were so many great experiences, right? But we were just all so taken with Halo, and from a multiplayer perspective, from a campaign perspective, like, you know, it was a truly a triumph, and I'm still playing campaign. I absolutely love it. So
Awesome.
shout out indeed to Halo and the rest of the games on this list. There's a lot of awesome stuff. So, but enough about what Game Informer thinks. Let's talk about what Game Informer thinks, right? Yeah. So how we're going to structure this is we all have our top 10s, but we're going to go through 10 through 5 pretty quickly. And then, or are we doing 10 through 4 quickly, Alex? Which one
We
did we
do
decide
10
on?
through 5.
10 through 5. Okay. And then the top 5, we're going to give a little bit more time to breathe and discuss. So,
we're just going to go by editor, like
yes.
down the top 10 list. Cool. That makes sense.
That's what I was thinking. So, Jill, would you like to kick us off here and say what your 5 through 10 is?
I would love
10
to.
through
So starting with 10.
Yeah.
I started with new Pokemon Snap. Surprising.
Nice.
Yeah.
The Artful Escape.
Good.
Valheim. Inscription. Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. And
Ooh.
Darkest Dungeon 2.
Okay. A solid list. And you can, like, if we do it quick, you can talk about why some of those landed where they, or like, you know, what didn't make the cut, that kind of stuff. I mean, I love that list. I think you're one of the only people who mentioned new Pokemon Snap, I think.
Yeah, I think I did. I think that might have been around Shay's thought process for a while. But it was one of those games for me that was like really just nostalgic and charming and totally just fun happiness time. So that's sort of why it's on my list. Is it's brought me back to like the 90s when I was a kid and just so excited to figure out how to like get that Squirtle to hit the monkey just in the right way. And
yeah, very nice. Cool. Is there any other games on the 5 through 10 that you want to highlight, or do you want to go to your number 5 or number 4?
So I mean, all of them are experiences that are great, and it was really hard this year. Indies had a really fantastic year this year, so there were just so many that I was trying to juggle in there. Darkest Dungeon 2 is one that I was really, really having a great time with, and it's hard because it's not totally done, so I can't be sure. So that's why it's not a little higher on my list. But moving on to number 4 is Death's Door. This was absolutely a fantastic game. It played well. It had all of the like feelings I was not expecting to feel while playing this game, because I knew I was going to go in for kind of Dark Soulsy type combat experience, and it was a roguelike, and it was going to be involved with a lot of different things. But this game actually came out, I think, like the week after I started Game Informer.
Oh wow, yeah.
So I was like, it's a game about a job, and it just brought me back to like starting a new job and the jobs in the past that I've not been writing about video games. And I actually wrote about those kind of feelings if you want to check that out. Moving on to 3, It Takes Two. I was so happy to see this win Game of the Year award. Not only just to see whatever Joseph Ferris was gonna say,
of course,
but because it's just it's fantastic to see a kind of indie win Game of the Year. That doesn't usually happen.
Ever,
and
right?
Yeah, and have to look back and see if that's ever happened for us.
Maybe
This is the
did
first
Hades
time.
win?
Last
don't
of Us
think
2 beat it
so.
last year.
Oh,
Or at least Game Awards we're talking,
that
like
indie
indie
game.
Game Awards.
Awards. Yeah.
Got it.
But it's just so clever and fun and fantastic. And so really happy to see that win. Number 2 for me is gonna be Sable. And anybody who's had to like work with me
Wow.
knows like how much I absolutely love this game. Love
It's
Sable.
true.
Yeah. Like John's just tired of hearing it.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's always Sable.
Sable this, Sable that. And I really, really, really encourage people to go check it out, especially now. It seems like some of the things have been ironed out a little bit, and there aren't, I'll say, as many. I don't know if they're all gone, but it's just this really fantastic exploration of identity and the world and the beautiful art style. And I was so in love with this game. But number 1, taking the crown. Thank you for the drum roll. Life is Strange True Colors.
Hey, nice.
Yeah, I have been a Life is Strange fan, but haven't been so like excited about it in recent years. And then this hit, and it's got that beautiful visual rework. It's the characters are sort of redone, the models are redone, so the acting really comes through. I really related to Alex Chen, who is our top. Oh, am I spoiling anything? I won't say that. Check out the
Okay.
Game
magazine.
Informer
Yeah.
highly regards
Yes.
Yes.
Alex Chen.
Yes.
And there was just a lot of just the feelings that it made me feel. Like I was just waterworks the whole time, and I could not.
That bridge scene, especially when they light the lanterns,
Oh man,
gets me every time. Oh, yeah. I love that pick. That's fantastic.
I need to play it. It's one that I'm kind of waiting for break to kind of
Jump
just
into.
chill and just like lean into a really good story with some good characters. Everything I've heard from you and from Marcus and other people who have played it, like Alex Chen sounds incredible, and I
Mhm.
really want to see her journey and her interact with that entire world.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It feels like, especially, and maybe I'm just poisoned by the toxic internet, but it feels like wholesome humor is kind of hard to pull off in games, and I think humor is hard in games regardless,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
there is a level of bright and light to that game and in its humor, especially when it's juxtaposed against some very hard themes and darker themes,
Mhm.
that I think it pulls off almost effortlessly. And I will always, there's moments in that game that will always stick with me, and I couldn't agree more that we regard Alex Chen as in this house we stan Alex Chen because she is
Alex Chen for the win.
exactly, she is
Chant it.
incredible. Alex Chen for the win.
win.
Alex
Alex
Chen
Chen
for the win.
Alex, that was it was just, you don't have to
Oh, you were
actually
joking.
do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
You in the
okay.
car who's listening to this right now, please
Yeah,
chant
it was
it
like
on the road.
a listener participation sort
Honk
of
along.
exercise.
Gotcha.
I read an article this week that we have to start engaging with Gen Z on a much more
Oh, okay.
versatile level.
Mhm.
So I'm just
Okay.
trying to sort that out,
Yeah,
Alex
for
Chen
sure.
for the win. Yeah, a little chant
Yeah,
there for you.
okay, gotcha. I'm on my burner account. I'll leave a review. It said 1-star forced humor. They do not recommend podcasts.
1 star
Yeah.
Gen
Meh.
Z woke culture or something.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Jill, that's a fantastic list. Do you have any final things to say about your game of the year? This is your time to shine. So
It's so hard making a definitive top 10 lists, and I think I talked about this a little bit with Wesley some while back, that before I started a Game Informer, I sort of played based off of because I was a freelancer, so I was sort of playing based off of what I could play at the time. So trying to catch up to a lot of these things, there was like a whole process of just like, okay, I'm not doing anything. I'm just playing video games, which sounds fantastic, and it is fantastic, but it's also really intense.
Yeah.
And there are so many good, great things. Like I'm a big fan of Returnal, and I wish that could have made it onto this list, but I am not good at Returnal. So I don't feel like I played enough of it to be able to say like it's, top whatever. But hopefully that gets some love elsewhere.
I think it will. I think as we go through the editorial list here, I think Returnal would get a good amount of love.
A few votes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, thank you. That's fantastic. John Carson,
Hey.
hello.
Hi.
Let's do the thing. Let's
All
go
right,
through
I
it.
brought 400 games that I've played this year. We're gonna start from 400, work our way up.
He's
Uh,
he's jacked the podcast, folks.
Number 400, Earthbound. Number
All
399,
Earthbound at 400.
Earthbound. It's all Earthbound,
It's
baby.
it's
It's
Earthbound
all
all the way
Earthbound,
down.
all the time.
That's the joke. I
No,
get it. That's
so
good.
I'd like to mirror Jill's sentiments about how hard it is to catch up on games when you've essentially missed half a year of needing to pay attention to this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I came into the organization in June. So I mean, we were halfway through the year, a bunch of the big hitters already hit.
It feels weird. I
And
thought, man, yeah, you did join
I
this
came
year.
in
Yeah.
the week before E3.
That's so weird.
And then just like put my feet to the fire since then. So I feel like my list this year isn't as complete as like maybe next year's will be. All right,
Sure.
that's just how I feel. Like it is a good list. I am very proud of it, I think. And I support it wholeheartedly.
We'll probably get to next year and feel the same way anyway.
Oh yeah. It'll be the same exact like, oh, I didn't play enough this year.
Mhm.
Why do I not have like Resident Evil on my list? I didn't play it. It wasn't on my slate early in the year. But I guess we'll start running down my 10 to 5 and we'll go from there. Number 10, Dodgeball Academia.
Nice.
Number 9, Diablo 2 Resurrected. Number 8, Loop Hero. Number 7, Guilty Gear Strive. Number 6 is Returnal.
Hey.
And then number 5 is Death's Door. So
Okay. Good list.
Dig it.
I love that you kept Dodgeball Academia on there because that game is great. I
Yes.
haven't beat it yet. I've fallen off of it, but I'd say the first half of it was fantastic.
It's great music, great characters. It's fun to play. It's short. Like you can knock it out in a weekend if you want. I just think it has a lot going for it, and I feel like it should have gotten more praise this year. So, other than that, let's see here. I mean, Guilty Gear is just a really solid fighting game. It's really the only fighting game this year. Wanted to support it and put it on my list.
Shout out to Giovanna.
Yeah, Giovanna, she's pretty rad. She's got that ghost wolf.
Yep,
pretty sweet.
Love her.
Yeah.
And then Returnal is a game that, like Jill, I didn't play a ton of it, and I'm bad at it. But I really like going back in and struggling in those biomes and trying to get further and further in. It's something I go to every couple of weeks. Like I'm just gonna take a couple runs at this and see what happens. But I think that game is incredible, and I'm happy that it sits where it does on my list. I guess number 4 is the good old Monster Hunter Rise.
Ooh, okay.
The currently Switch exclusive Monster Hunter. It's not for long. It's gonna be on PC soon, but it's a nice cross between what Capcom did with Monster Hunter World, with a bunch of its quality of life improvements, made it easier for people to jump in, but they also added like more mobility, some ideas from the Monster Hunter Generations line that was on Switch previously, but in a more accessible way. That game's just really fun. I sunk a bunch of hours into it. It's easily one of the most fun games that I've played this year. It's like I actually like went into Discord went into people's Discords and like found people to play with me.
Oh,
And
cool.
yeah, like found groups, and I don't do that often with games. So
Mhm.
it's nice to have that little sense of community with Monster Hunter. Number 3 is Halo Infinite.
Yeah.
That game makes it on the list from the multiplayer alone, and then the campaign on top of it is just gravy. Like it's an incredible experience. I love the gameplay of that game. I love how it looks back to earlier Halo titles for inspiration, and kind of and makes it its own in a way. Like 343 is innovating on that old Halo formula. And I think things like the grapple hook, the grapple shot, it's a lot of fun. A lot of the new weapons are fun. The new maps are great.
Yes.
The game's just really fun, and making it a free to play experience for people is probably the best thing that Halo's done in 10 years or so.
Have
So
you had issues with the cosmetics and that kind of stuff, or are you kind of more chill about that?
I'm more chill about it.
Yeah.
Like seeing how many cosmetics they actually like have at a given moment. Like there's not a lot in there right now, and I'm sure that that'll be a focus as they're going to try to put a longer tail on the game. I'm sure like whatever season 2 and 3, they're just going to blow out the cosmetics because they don't have like a campaign to support it, to support keeping people in the ecosystem. So
For sure.
yeah. Number 2 is the best card game of the year, and that is Inscription.
I was wondering where you're gonna go with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So Inscription is I was really worried about this being like recency bias for me, and putting it so high on my list. But as I've sat with it for the last couple of weeks, it's something I keep thinking about. It's the little pieces of the card game itself and the different mechanics that they layer upon it, the different characters that they introduce, and the different layers to the world, and outside the world that they that they put in front of you. Yeah, for Inscription, it's really just those little details, and like it's a game I could probably go back to and play differently each time. Like, oh, I'm going to use this kind of deck. I'm going to focus on whatever the where are they, like the Mox resources,
Oh
like
yeah.
the like the jewels or gems, or like, oh, this will be a sacrifice deck. This one's all about blood or bones, and yeah, it's a game that I can, like, as a card game fan, I can go in and kind of dig deeper, even if like the story's not going to be any different. That's fine, but I get to play around with the systems even more. And now
And even then,
oh, sorry.
even if you're not a card game fan, because I'm not a huge deck builder person,
Mhm.
Same.
like you can. It's so good because you can both dive very deep if you are a big fan of that kind of system,
Yeah.
but it is also really fun if you just are not terribly ingrained into that as well.
Yeah, you get to a point where they have like an auto deck builder, and I actually use that for most of my like mid game where you could
I
use
did too.
that.
Yeah.
And it was like, what's the optimal thing that the game wants me to do? I'm going to try that, and then for subsequent playthroughs, I'm going to kind of mess around with the decks on my own and see how that goes.
And
But
it's
they just
definitely.
oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, that's Inscription is the game I think this year that I walked away from the ending being like, wow, that was a game.
Yes, yes, that brought me places.
Hmm.
I'm a little bit cooler on the actual like ending, but like everything up to it was great. And yeah, I'm still struggling like if this is my number 2 or my number 1 game.
Well.
Speaking of my number 1 game,
Oh, he transitioned. Let's go.
we're going to the land of Nintendo, and this one kind of surprised me. My number 1 is going to be Metroid Dread.
Wow.
It's an incredible Metroidvania. Well, it's a Metroid game. They return to the genre they invented, with Mercury Steam, who hasn't really had like a solid hit. for a while. Like they always get super close to doing something special and miss the mark. And
I would
this time,
I would
I think
argue
they
not at the fault of their own, especially when it comes to Samus Returns.
no.
That had a whole new console launch staring in its face. I
Well,
just had to throw
that
out
and
there.
it was a remake of a Game Boy game. Like they had a lot kind of going against that, and I bounced off of Samus Returns. It's something that I want to go back to now that I enjoyed Metroid Dread so much. But I think the world, the exploration of it, like the little nuances in like Samus's animations are great. I really like the boss battles. I know that's kind of contentious for a lot of people, but I feel like every time I lost a boss battle, I learned something and I could take it into the next go for it. Um, it's not a perfect game. Some of the Emmy encounters are a little bit frustrating, but the power ups you get are really cool. I think just maneuvering around the environments is a lot of fun.
And
It's just a pure fun experience for me.
yeah, I think the Emmy stuff would have been a lot harder for me to swallow if the checkpoints weren't so good. But I thought
Yeah.
it checkpointed
Yeah,
very well.
it's like, oh, I'm right here. Like I'm just gonna try it again.
Yeah.
We'll get through it one way or another. So
Yeah.
yeah, Metroid Dread. That is my game of the year
Wow,
for
game of the year.
2021.
Love it. Love the Samus love.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, thank you for sharing that, Mr. Van
Yeah.
Aken.
Hello.
I'm aching to hear what you got.
Well, let's start off with my 10 through 5. At number 10, I've got Loop Hero. At number 9, I have Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury.
Yeah.
Number 8, I have Pokemon Unite. At number 7, I have The Forgotten City. Number 6, I have Inscription. And number 5, I have Hitman 3.
Yes.
So I think highlights that we haven't talked about too much. Loop Hero hit at the start of the year. This was a game that I thought I was not going to like.
Yeah.
I almost was like not going to buy it. I was like, everybody's talking about it, but these screenshots, it doesn't look good.
Yeah, it's like, what is this? Like, it's a weird card thing, and like
exactly.
You don't do anything.
Yeah, well, that was the part that I was like,
idle.
huh. So it's a card, it's a deck building auto battler.
Yeah.
And man, it was just such a unique concept for a game. And I loved it. Go check out our. Actually, no, it's not on our list. Never mind. I was gonna say. So the concept. I think we've talked about it recently on the podcast. You know, you're kind of going around this loop, this lane, and your job as the player is to fill out the world based on the deck of cards that you've made. And so your cards are randomized. So your cards could be things like mountains or forests, and those give you boosts. Like I think forests. Man, what do they do?
They give you health.
They give you health. Mountains, you can combine them to make bigger peaks and stuff. And or you could put down like vampire houses or like bandit camps and so on and so forth. There's graveyards. And the cards and their placement on the tiles all interact with each other in different ways. So like if you place grass next to a swamp or grass next to a cemetery, then that'll turn into like flowers. Or if you put the vampires next to the town, then they'll go in and kill them. And there's a lot of really interesting combinations for cards, and it's just a great passive game that I felt really was inventive and different. And yeah, that game rules. So go play Loop Hero.
I don't think a lot of people kind of talk about it in this way, but for me, there was a lot of really cool feelings of exploration.
Yes.
It's not really an exploration game, but
100%.
they don't tell you what's going to happen. You kind of don't know. So you're essentially putting things together and not realizing something's going to happen. And then you end up having this whole pile of rocks that makes a mountain that suddenly triggers like a griffin or whatever the harpy.
The harpies, yeah.
And I'm like, what? I didn't know I was going to suddenly have a harpy to deal with.
Yeah.
And it's just that amazing moment of like, wow, I did something without knowing what was going to happen. And it's this really cool feeling that you were not expecting.
Yeah. And then you're unlocking different pieces of the environment. And you're like, what happens if I put this next to this? What happens if I group X amount of these next to each other?
And then immediately say, never doing that again.
Yeah, and then sometimes you like waste an entire round. You're like, well, all right, nothing came from that, but at least I tried it. I know now.
Yeah.
That it's such a good game to just put like a Twitch stream up, or put on YouTube, or like something that if you just want to like turn off your brain for like 4 hours and just like play a fun game and get some other entertainment on the side at the same time, it's perfect for that.
There used to be, I don't know if it was a mobile game. Oh, I just found it. Look at that.
Perfect.
I Googled it. There used to be this mobile game. I think I've seen like similar versions on itch. It's called Little Alchemy, I think, or it's like an alchemy game where like the whole premise of the game is like putting two things together to get a new result. And that game was filled with like curiosity, like, oh, what happens if I put fire and ice together? And it's like, oh, maybe you'll get vapor, or, you know, this game very much reminds me of that old puzzle mobile game I played, and it's awesome for that. But continuing down, I mean, Bowser's Fury is on my list for Bowser's Fury alone. I really enjoyed that. I've talked about Pokemon Unite before. Hitman 3 is probably the other standout. I love Hitman games. I love stealth, puzzle, immersive sim type games, and that's what Hitman falls under. It's just, those games are such a joy to poke at and prod at. The many systems in it to see kind of, you know, what results you can get. And then once you've memorized a game, like speed running it, like I beat the main mission, the first main mission in like less, I think it was like a minute or something. Wow. Just like getting down like these, okay, now I know how to perfectly execute this person while remaining stealth. I can do it like that. I'm so good. This is so much fun. Just that, like, these starting at no information, slowly gaining knowledge, getting your first run that's like pretty solid. You're like, okay, that was awesome. And then continuing, like, I guess like I would consider end game, where like you are, okay, now I'm going to like start challenging myself. Can I do it? Can I get this kill on this guy? Can I execute this guy by poisoning his food? Maybe. There's all sorts of those scenarios that are really fun threads to chase down in Hitman, and Hitman 3 is just incredible. So yeah, that was my number 5. Moving on, my number 4 is Resident Evil Village. I love Resident Evil Village. I am not a horror game guy. It was a big accomplishment for me to get through that game.
I'm proud of you.
But thank you. I adored it. The boss fights were probably the weakest part of that game. The traditional boss fights, I'll say, but just the whole ride, like the pacing was just phenomenal. The twist, it's not even a twist, but like there's a perspective change later on in the game, and
so good.
It just like totally flips the game on its head, and you've suddenly got this like power fantasy. And this comes after hours of being afraid, and the way that game handles horror, power, and just the story was intriguing. I'm not even a Resident Evil guy. I was like, what is happening here? I gotta figure this out.
This guy's poor arm.
Yeah, right. And just every set piece and area was so interesting, and actually getting to know the village, and like I can still remember like my way through that village because of the amount of times you're like, oh well, now I've got this area I can go check out, and by the end you're just like running through and you know it like the back of your hand, like, oh, I'm gonna go under the tractor here, I'll go up here, there's a fence I can get through, yada yada yada. So love Resident Evil Village. That's my number 4. My number 3, we've already talked about it, so I won't talk about it too much, but Death's Door. Love that game to death. Great boss fights. Just a phenomenal world. Probably my favorite character design this year. I love the characters. I thought they were really charming and interesting, and also some of them were like really funny.
Shout out to Pothead.
Shout out to Pothead.
Shout out Pothead.
If you gave that kind of character to another team, I feel like it wouldn't have come off as strong as in this game, but they were just so confident in their characters and their archetypes, I'll say, their roles in the story. And oh man, it was so good. And the soundtrack, just incredible. So good. Yeah. Moving on, my number 2 is Halo Infinite. I am a Halo sicko. I love Halo. Honestly, Halo multiplayer has probably carried this experience alone to number 2. Factor in an awesome campaign. I haven't beaten it. And just that grapple shot, the repulsor, the open world. just Halo's the best it's been since probably Halo 3. It
Yeah,
is
let's be real.
incredible. Yeah, it's incredible. And as far as movement goes, this is the best movement in any Halo game, in my opinion. It's the most fluid and varied approach to moving from place to place as any Halo game has been. So, love Halo Infinite. And then my number one, my game of the year, Deathloop.
Yeah.
Deathloop is my game of the year. I love that game. I'm a big Arcane fan, and this was different from other Arcane games. Very different. It was less immersive simi and more narrative focused, more linear, I'll say. But a lot of Arcane's classic design was still shown off in this game, and I loved piecing together, clues and exploring the environments in any which way I wanted. Whether I wanted to, stealth through or go guns blazing, there was a path for me, and kind of prioritize or not prioritizing, kind of becoming more efficient in each run. It's like, okay, I know there's a window over here I can go through. That'll get me over here. This guard's going to be there. I'll take him out. Then I can go and find my target and try to take him down. It's just, again, one of those games where it rewards you for poking at it, rewards you for getting to know its different systems. And I love the characters too. Colt and Juliana are my favorite characters this year. I love them. I think they're written very well. The ending is what it is. Like, a lot of people don't like it. It was fine for me, but this game is so much more than about the ending, in my opinion. It really is. It's cliche to say, but it is about the journey in that game.
The journey.
The moment to moment, piecing together the clues and the mystery behind the time loop, learning more about Colt's backstory and just everybody else. I hope we get another. I have a lot of ideas for how they can, expand that world out. I think we definitely should get like prequel DLC. Arcane Life Loop. Perfect. Yes. There are definitely some like hints at Cole's past. There are definitely some hints at Cole's past. And Arcane, look at all of their games since 2012. Every game has had DLC. So I'm hopeful that Deathloop has story DLC, diving into Colt's past, and like his origin in this whole story. So yeah, Deathloop is my goty, my game of the year. Love it. Goty.
Goty. Yeah. I feel like John got off too scot-free for his joke there, but maybe we'll come back.
No, hey, you play as a paramedic who's trying to save all the victims.
Oh, there we go.
It's fine.
Yeah, nicely done there. Good list, Mr. Van Aken. Very good list. Y'all ready for this one? I'm just writing. I'm writing timestamps. Hold on. Stalling.
I'm more than ready.
Play me off, Johnny. My list. Here we go. Ready? It's your boy. Number 10, Little Nightmares 2. Chef's Kiss.
Nice.
Number 9 was a late addition. Shout out to Lele. I had a different game in my 9 spot, but I beat Inscription last weekend by the time you're listening to this, and I was taken. It was a thing. I'll get to that in a second. But number 8, Life is Strange True Colors. Shout out to Alex Chen.
Very nice.
No, number 7 is Deathloop. Phenomenal experience. Returnal comes in at number 6. John, you and I think alike on that one. Before Your Mother Freaking Eyes is number 5. I'm getting emotional just even thinking about it. This has been an excellent year. I don't care what the internet says. I wanted to keep Little Nightmares on because I feel like it fell into the time of year that a lot of people at this point have forgotten it, but I think it has
like February.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. It's always. Well, I mean, next year won't be that kind of year, but
no.
We're gonna be forced to remember that February forever.
Yeah, there were definitely bigger games, obviously, but Little Nightmares 2, I thought, was amazing in its execution and encapsulating childlike horror that the first game really started, but I thought number 2 did an amazing job of like taking up to another level. Has some of the scariest moments of the year, like the teacher chase scene. I still can't do it. Inscription was a late ad for me. Totally took me off guard. I Jesse Vitelli, friend of the show, and Alex were big fans of it months back, and I was like, this is a card game. It's a PC only game. It's not for me. but I'm so happy I played it. There was one point, it was like Friday night, and my fiance was, I can't remember where she was, or maybe she was sleeping at that point, but like I booted it up, and it was like 12 o'clock when I started it, and then I felt like I blinked and it was 3 a.m. And I
Yeah.
messaged like Marcus and John. I was like, I don't know what year it is. Like I've been so deep into
What
this game.
happened?
Yeah, like who's the president at this point? Um, and it is. I don't want to say anything more because John did a great job, but it's something you have to experience for
I,
yourself.
I, I think the magic of that game really starts when, like, yeah, it starts off as a card game, but when it lets you stand up from the table and then start like going around the hut, you're like, oh, we're doing adventure stuff. Like,
Yeah.
this is really cool.
Mhm.
And then what happens between like you getting up and exploring and then going to sit down to play again?
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
it is
that
beautiful. Yeah.
goes places.
I really hope it does come to like Switch and console because I think a bigger audience will be able to experience that, and I really hope it does because Daniel Mullins Games has a hit on their hand. So, um, Life is Strange, Jill, you did a fantastic job describing why that game is phenomenal. One of the best stories this year by far, and Alex Chen, we love her. I'm happy because when I was playing it in pre-release, I was like, do I just love her because we're both Alex? And that like like it, not joking, it kind of drew me in a little bit more because I was hearing my name. I don't know, whole thing, but it's fantastic. Alex did a great job talking about Deathloop at 7 for me. I that was my first arcane game that I've played and beaten, and I thought it made me want to try Dishonored. Like I want to try that back catalog. So shout out to Arcane. Let's give Returnal a little bit of love here. I think they have made the perfect Alien the game kind
Mhm.
of experience if you put it in a bullet hell, which would be wild to see Sigourney Weaver running around in a bullet hell game. But um, I just think the shooting in that game is some of the best that we've had in a while, and I love it so much. And then Before Your Eyes, I feel like I've talked about this a lot in recent weeks, so I won't belabor the point, but that's another one where you just have to play. There's specific moments in that game that will stick with me as long as I enjoy video games and probably after. And I have not been reduced to a pile of tears quite like that game did. And I feel like that's what I've honed in on in the last couple of weeks, but mechanically it's so sound too. Like I really thought the webcam thing was going to be gimmicky and frustrating, but they pace it in such a way that you're not like your eyes aren't crusting
Right.
over and like you're
Can
straining to play
can
it
you
right.
paint eyeballs on your eyelids and trick it?
I
But
should have
that
tried
is
that. Yeah.
it is some of the nice thing too is like when it is frustrating, it serves the point of the game because it is sort of a like life flashes before your eyes feeling, and it's like I wasn't ready for that to be over, but I can't go back.
It's memory. Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, and I think it was a beautiful marriage of concept, gameplay, and execution. I can't speak highly enough of that game. I think it was robbed at the Game Awards, and I guess I'm part of that because I didn't get to play it till later. But
Yeah.
I'm so happy that I did. So don't sleep on that one. Um, and then my top four. It's a beautiful, beautiful
Give it to
list of
me,
games.
Alex.
Let's go. Number 4, Resident Evil Village. Alex did an amazing job talking about it earlier. Um, Easily my favorite Resident Evil. That's not a long list because I am very unversed in Resident Evil because I too am a big baby boy. But its balance of action and horror was amazing to me. The more gothic Brothers Grimm esque storytelling and monsters of it was a highlight. Um, the moment Alex alluded to later in the game is one of my favorite moments of the year. And I've talked about this too, but playing it with my fiance and her sister was incredible. Getting to experience that together and us screaming all at the same time. And unfortunately, I'll never be able to forget the dollhouse either. Shout out to that awful, horrible, amazing level. Um, Metroid Dread comes in at number 3 for me. John did an amazing job talking about it. I feel like because I've seen people split on this, but I actually think Mercury Steam did a great job with the level design. I know I saw people say
Yeah.
they got lost, but I really did feel like if you didn't stray too far from like the encounters, like the boss encounters, right?
Yeah.
And that kind of after the moment of okay, I beat this, what's next? I thought they did a pretty good job with leading you the right ways with the lighting and some of the paths that they presented to you. I think it is the best version of a Metroid that we have, and I know that's a very loaded field these days, but I just think
I
Mercury Steam did an absolutely incredible job with
I
this.
played some other Metroidvanias like right afterwards, and yeah, it was like there was no comparison. Like I went to Axiom Verge after it. I'm like, oh yeah, like this is one of the, like, people herald this as like one of the best Metroidvanias in the last like 10 years. And I went to it, it was like so slow. Like, it's a great game, but like the exploration compared to Metroid Dread, it's like Metroid Dread is just so smooth and interesting and just going from room to room.
Yeah, I agree, and I do think I'm with you on the bosses, John, because I really feel like it channels the highs of a Soulsborne type experience, where the checkpointing is better than those games. I would say, but it
Yeah.
really is. It's just you and the boss, and you have to figure out the tells, and that's on you, and you have to do that.
Mhm.
And I think those, especially with the camera work in that game, for some of the, like, the execution moments and stuff,
Yeah.
is brilliant. And I really think, and maybe this is too naive on my part, but I feel like a lot of people, maybe in my friend group and on the timeline, like, know and love Samus from Smash.
Oh, sure.
Whereas I really think this is, like, if that's all you knew her from, this was the perfect coming out party for her, because she is a badass. They highlight that, and she is incredible. Like, there's a reason she's one of the universe's
Yeah.
greatest bounty
She is stone cold the whole time.
hunters. Oh yes, yeah. It is phenomenal, and what they do at the ending of that game, I was like, let's go! Like, are you seeing this? Come on! It was
I
so
was
good.
shouting, and it was like 3 a.m.
Your wife's like, John, I'm
What
not
is
going to
it?
tell you again. Yeah.
Waking the neighbors.
Yeah, so Metroid Dread, fantastic experience, and I'm happy it's selling the way it is, because hopefully that means more Metroid in the future. So, um, number 2 is a game that we have not talked about yet on this show, and I'm
Ooh.
Ooh.
very happy about that. Well, I'm not happy that y'all didn't have it higher, but you know what I'm saying. Psychonauts 2 is my number 2 game of the year, and that was my actually game of the year until a game that I'm sure you can guess is coming overtook it. But I recently played I played Psychonauts 1 this year, first time to completion. I thought it was fantastic. Like, the writing, undisputed, fantastic, right? And I did think, other than the meat circus and a couple of the later levels, it relatively held up in 2021, which was impressive to me. And I, I I think I've said this before, but it is Double Fine's magnum opus. Like, it is the best game that they have come up with from a writing perspective, which is high praise, because this is a studio known for its writing. But also, I felt like they upped the ante on gameplay. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. There were some sections where it was that thing in platform, and you're like, I know I got that, but you fall
Mhm.
anyways. It
Yeah.
has those moments. But I think when you combine the smart additions they've made to combat, the tightening of platforming, uh, was still, you add a genuinely heartfelt and hilarious story. You know, we did the cover, using payoffs for fans of that first game. I thought it did a great job of bringing people in who have not played that first one. And, you know, I think I've seen some people online lament the fact that something like Ratchet's not here, and I think there's people who would argue that Ratchet maybe did a better job with its platforming and action, moment to moment action this year. But I just think that story and those characters were enough for me to really cement this as something that I think this is a special game, and I think this is already becoming an underrated game. It got no love at the Game Awards. Um, I'm just so taken with Raz and some of the characters in that, and just a very sweet, warm story on the backdrop of, hard subjects to talk about. Like, they handle mental health in it very, very consciously, and it's just a gem, and I can't wait to go back to it. And it warms my heart. So, shout out to
Awesome.
Psychonauts 2. Shout out to Double Fine. But ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. I've been telling y'all for months that it's Halo season, and when it rains, it pours. Halo Infinite, my game of the year. And this is so exciting to me, because I did not think we would get, or I knew we were getting Halo this year, right? I
Yeah.
did not think it was going to be my game of the year because of, I won't belabor, the struggles with the series as of late, but I agree with you. This is the best game since Halo 3 on the whole. And I think it's mainly due to the fact that 343 finally understood the feeling of Halo, of the dance, right? We talk about how Halo feels and that dance of you're never out of a fight until that a death card comes up, right? Like you can, one lucky grenade can get it there, one slick BR sniper shot like gets you there. And it feels like they just really 343 broke it down to its foundations, understood what made it that series feel so unique in a bloated shooter space, and then added pieces like the grapple shot, right? Like they just
Yeah.
have this beautiful foundation that I think it's the best. It's not the most original shooter in the space, and it's taken some great ideas from Apex, right? From Call of Duty, but it, instead of chasing trends like 4 and 5 did, I feel like it solidified what it was first. And that's just from a gameplay perspective. Like I think campaign, they hit on a lot of amazing notes. I think they were smart to dial down how lore heavy things were and the bombast of that. I think starting it where they did, where it's like you're trying to solve a mystery instead of this epic Avengers level clash was coming like we thought it was after 5. I just think they did a lot of smart things and they finally stopped chasing Bungie's legacy. And I think it's paid off immensely. And the open world is not original, like by a long shot, like and that's fine because you add that under layer of Halo to it, and it makes it something where it's like I want to go clear every FOB because I know it's more Halo, it's more gameplay, it's more grapple shot opportunities. And that's why I love campaign so much too, because a lot of people got their first hands on with a grapple shot in multiplayer, but they make it so much more of a playground in campaign.
Yeah.
Where it very much is like, especially after you get a certain power up where you can like grapple a lot quicker, it's like a 40% boost or whatever. You feel like Spider-Man, like going across the hills on Zeta Halo and just combining that with, some of the fun weapons like the Cinder Shot and the Gravity Hammer and just decimating Banished. It is something that I only hoped would happen, that they would finally figure it out. And they really did. And I am absolutely blown away. And I cannot wait for what comes next in this franchise. And not even just in this franchise, but in this game, right? There are so many maps that they could add to it from previous games. But I want to see their original takes too, right? We're finally getting Slayer in the mix. But like what other, where's Griffball
Could
at?
you imagine? Could you imagine the grapple hook, the grapple shot on Lockout, like swinging
no.
around?
Bro, oh
Yeah.
my
Don't.
god, dude. Yeah, and like anytime you think you're done, just get back
see ya.
up.
I'm
Like,
outta here.
oh my god. Or Guardian. Like, there's so many amazing possibilities with that. And it wasn't perfect when it came out. It's still not, right? They're still figuring out how to make multiplayer work. The cosmetics are too expensive right now. Period. I'm not spending $20 on 2 skins.
No,
You know what I mean?
and they're all
I definitely didn't do
esports
that.
related,
no.
like-
Yeah. And it wasn't like, if you did, like, no shade, right? Like
Hey, it was
that's your
birthday money,
choice.
okay?
Yeah. It's free money. Yeah. But I think the speed at which they're responding to people is incredible, especially with how toxic that Reddit channel is. Like,
Oof, yeah.
I would have every urge in my body to say F y'all. Like,
it's like
you
we're
guys
turning
are
off the servers.
Yeah,
We'll
like-
see you in a year again.
like deuces. Yeah. Like they tried and Phil Spencer like lost all of his hair. No, don't turn
No.
it off. But just when you combine all those aspects, it is a special game, and I agree with Alex. It is the best Halo has felt, I think, ever with everything that it's done, and I did not expect to say that here in 2021. So, what a year!
What
What
a
a
year.
year!
We did it.
We did it. We are going to take a quick break because on top of all the games we just talked about, there's games still coming out that we need to talk about.
What?
It's been a big week, surprisingly. So, go get your popcorn, refill your drink, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the GI show. Alex is still getting his popcorn. There was something with the butter machine that wasn't working, and it's like, what's the point of popcorn if you can have butter on it, you know? So he'll be back a little later, I methinks. So, but for now, let's rock with the playlist. Which actually, we haven't done the playlist in 3 weeks, something like that. It's been
Didn't do it last week.
No,
For
definitely
sure.
didn't. We did the Game Awards predictions too. It's been a lot. So we're gonna return to it because we actually have exciting games we get to talk about. Kicking off with Forspoken. Jill, you actually got to go hands off. You got to see the game, right?
I
With
did.
Forspoken.
I got to go to a fun sort of behind closed doors press preview and watched a little bit of the game in action, hear some of the creators sort of talk about what's going on. So, Forspoken, we first saw back in 2020 during the PS5 reveal, if I remember correctly. Um, and it was one of those things, was still Project Athia at the time. It was one of those like highlights for me because it was just like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm seeing fantasy looking things. I'm seeing someone flying around. And we hadn't really gotten too much. We got a little bit more at the Game Awards, which was nice to see. Um, so it was good to go into this to kind of get more information. The main character is Frey Holland, and she is a New Yorker. We learned that she is actually an orphan. I
Okay.
didn't know
Okay.
that before. So she's going, like, her life seems very hard. There are things happening in her life. It looks like jail is somewhere hovering, looming in the distance.
Yeesh.
Like, that might happen. And she really is just kind of musing about like a life better than she has currently. And then it happens, but not sort of the way you'd expect it. You know, you end up in this magical world. You've got a kind of a series of golden armbands that start talking to you, like you do.
As you
Talking
do.
to you.
As you
Okay.
Yeah.
do. Is
I
this
was
an isekai?
Um,
Is this in another world situation? I
I like
guess
how
kind
was that
of.
an anime term?
it is an anime
Okay,
term.
I like
Yeah.
how you
Yeah.
used that with probably two of the people who do you watch anime? Joel? I guess I
Okay.
shouldn't.
Okay.
It's like
Shouldn't over-
I know, like I've heard the term, but like I'm not sure I know sort of as much as I need to about the
Gotcha. Okay.
game,
I
but
wasn't.
kind
Yeah,
of, it sort of is.
I wasn't sure if I should be mad at you for insulting Jill. I didn't know what that meant. So yeah,
I
What'd you call
assumed
her?
I
yeah,
assumed Jill was privy to
I'm
things like
hipping with it.
Dot Hack or
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Sword Art
Yeah,
Online.
yeah.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, it. I mean, sure. Yeah, let's go with it because I don't know what the sort of prompt is for what's happened, but
Mhm.
you go from this sort of bleak looking future in the normal world and boom, you're in Athia. Um, and we learned that Athia's not having a great time either. Like you see some dragons, it's all lovely, but then there is something called the break. It's this sort of fog, miasma, corruption that's kind of rolled over the land, and anything it touches, it corrupts.
It's not good.
So it's not good. It's not great.
Sounds
Yeah,
bad.
let's like imagine San Francisco but zombies.
I thought you were gonna
Um,
say it was smog. I was like, well, I don't have to imagine
you
I was
that.
don't
gonna
have
say
to.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
seen The Mist. It's
Yeah.
not. Don't mess with that.
yeah.
It's just yeah. So it the world has become changed, so it looks sort of bioluminescent and strange, and uh, any humans that came into contact with it are these sort of zombie-like aggressive creatures. Like I believe we saw a bear that was sort of a zombie bear um
All
thing,
right.
and so like a little more into the zombie feelings than I was expecting for this
Interesting.
game.
Yeah.
um we started the preview in a city called Sepal, which was not originally built to be a city. It just seems like this thing happened, this horrible outbreak, and people were trying to escape from it and ended up in this kind of meeting place that was not meant to be a permanent dwelling, but it's the only safe place, and that's sort of it. Humanity besides that is gone. Um, People who have been touched by the break have changed. So you get the Tantas who were we knew the concept of this by I think the second trailer, and they represent a a monarchy system that used to be fair and just and virtuous, and then the break comes along and you've got people being like, haha, you die, which was a fantastic moment from the TGA trailers.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it seems like for whatever reason our heroine is not affected by this miasma at all, so everyone's
Helpful.
sort of, yeah, very helpful. So what we saw was her leaving the city, going into the fog, and sort of taking on zombie enemies, and um really, it looks really good. I'm not gonna lie. I am more excited coming out of this preview than I was going into it.
Good. Yeah.
Um, it just looks like it plays so smooth and buttery, you know. And I haven't played it, so I don't know, but it just has that look, and like the magical parkour system, which is what they called it. Um, just makes it look like she is gliding across the world, and she moves so quick and beautifully. She has magic that she can use to attack. They had this interesting triangle system where each point of the triangle represented a different magical attack, and you could bring up a menu and change those out on the fly, and you just be shooting things out and like taking people down. And it was a really cool. It looked like it all worked. It looked very the smooth and fast paced, and being able to and when you see stuff like that, I was worried about the parkour stuff being sort of limited.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like maybe you can only do it at certain times, but it looks like you can do it at all times over all things. They said, you know, it doesn't matter what walls are in your way, you can sort of get over them without any real problems.
Wow.
I saw she cast like out of combat an invisibility type spell to kind of zoom around. So
Cool.
obviously there's going to be some cool kind of stealthy elements there. They had a system where really interesting. I am intrigued by the story. But of course, I would be a little remiss if I didn't talk about the things I am concerned about.
Yes.
Mhm.
So I'll start with sort of the quick and easy one. There's a lot of banter. There,
Mm,
um,
okay.
humor, as I think Stadnik pointed out earlier, can be hard in games, and I'm not 100% sold that this is going to hit the mark that they want. Your cuff is sentient and he talks to you. So he's sort of constantly like, "Whoa, look over there! Oh, you!" And he's got this like lovely British accent, so it's fun to hear. But
There you go.
it's
A lot of off the
Frey.
cuff humor.
Yeah,
Oh.
thank you. But
Ah,
bum.
All right,
you
I'll see
redeemed
my way out.
you redeemed yourself from earlier. That
Okay,
one
good.
was very good.
That
Yes.
was very
I
good.
like that one. Yeah.
They should get you involved.
No, they don't want that. That's like a
Um,
1 in 100 chance that it's gonna be good. So I'll retire here with my jokes.
There we
that
go.
was very good. Yeah.
Yeah, go out on top. Smart.
There was kind of early on as we were hearing about this game, there was a lot made about Gary Whitta and Amy Hennig being
Mm-hmm.
involved
Yeah.
with the project. It does seem like they were involved in sort of an early phase of the
Interesting.
project, sort of pre-production, sort of world building
Kind,
phase.
The
kind
George
of.
R. R. Martin
I was gonna
style.
Kind
say.
of.
Yeah.
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 It does
Oh.
sort of seem that way.
Mm,
So they were not like leading the team of writers through the whole project. But they did set the tone and work on the lore and things of that nature. So that leads me into things that I am a little more concerned about on a bigger level, and that's sort of how we are talking about women and especially Black women in this game.
Mm-hmm.
There was a moment where one of the writers, I believe, mentioned that Frey had like a hip hoppy walk, And I'm like, ooh, that's not what
Mm,
you want to hear there
Yeah.
in
yeah.
representation. But they Square Enix did clarify in a later fact sheet that they do have consultants from diverse backgrounds and people of color consulting on the game, and not just the uh, character actor and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
they do seem to have, or they are saying that they have some consulting in that area.
Yeah.
There were definitely very like girl power, which I really appreciate. I do love seeing female leads, and I love seeing strong female leads.
Mm,
Um, but it sort of looks a little icky if like you start that way, and then one of the big mechanics is like, hey, you can paint your nails.
Mm.
Um, and
oh,
I don't know how that's gonna.
that's right.
Yeah, I don't know how that's gonna feature in. So they do talk about that being a something that is in the lore of the world, and something that is culturally from Athia and taken from like Egyptian history and Babylonian culture and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that is something that could legitimately be like a cool, fun thing, and just be unfortunately juxtaposed in this particular preview
Mhm.
Yeah.
section.
I could see on
Uh,
the surface that seems worrying for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, it's very hard to go from like, hey, we want like to represent women, so here's nail polish,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you get that sort of feel. But I get the sense that that's not where that came from. It just happened to be
How
like,
it was
right.
presented
Yeah,
this
it was
time. Yeah.
presented in a short amount of time. So there are things that I don't want to say like, hey, I'm really concerned about this game. Like, I think when the game comes out, it's going to be the best time to sort of evaluate whether or not these concerns are uh, really there, or whether it was a situation where the presentation was just cut in a way. Like, obviously there were comments made that like it was like there's no way that was appropriate no matter how you cut that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I am interested to see the game. I came out very excited about it. I am very interested to see this parkour system. I'm very interested in this magic system. It looks so cool. And the game looks fantastic. It looks shimmery when she moves through the world with her parkour. It's like waves are parting through, and she's going through them, and they're shimmering and magical, and I'm just so excited to see that.
Okay. So you are still like the hype is high for May when it comes out
Yeah. I'm
for you.
definitely going to check this out.
Gotcha. That is concerning, especially when you said it is very banter-y.
hmm
And if
But they
the
do say they are calibrating that. So they
sure,
might hear some of that and be like, okay, maybe we'll tone it down a bit.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, this could get into stereotypes quickly, and I don't want to see that. So,
Mm.
be curious to see where that rolls into. So, but you wrote about it on the site, correct? Or is it just the mag?
It's a magazine, so everybody who's got
Ooh,
Ooh.
that subscription, you got some fresh information.
there we go. Go check that out. New magazine will be coming later. So, um, well, cool. Well, thank you for regaling us about Forspoken. It actually comes out on
Yeah.
my birthday next year.
Well, happy birthday to you.
Happy almost
Thank
birthday.
you. Yeah, May 24th is right around the corner.
We
Really,
all got you a copy of Forspoken.
Yeah.
I just
to
have
let you know
6
ahead of
copies
time.
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Build a
Um,
little fort.
yeah. I'm intrigued about that game. I'm not going to be able to really know if it's for me until I get my hands on it, because I feel like combat like that is so hit or miss when it's that
Mhm.
at high speeds, and if the controls are off on that's gonna be an issue. But I'll take your word for it, and I'm gonna choose happiness. I'd choose violence every other day. Might as well choose happiness today. So, oh, speaking of choosing violence,
Oh
let's
no.
get into it. I got to play the preview build for Sifu.
Oh
That
yeah.
is
Ooh.
slow
Tell
claps.
us about it.
Yeah, that is Slow Clap, uh, the developer behind Absolver. I think it was 2017.
Oh. I didn't know that was them. That makes a
Yeah,
lot of sense.
yeah.
That makes so much sense.
They are back, and it feels like a big way. I did not play Absolver, but I talked with Marcus, who did when we did the NGT, which you can check out on youtube.com/Game Informer. Um, and in his estimation, it felt like the team honed in on the best part of Absolver, which sounds to be like the combat. Um, and has really make it the focal point of this. So Sifu is a game where we don't know a ton about the story yet. This was mainly a demo to show off the gameplay, and I'm really happy about that. But you play the protagonist is a martial artist who is fighting his or her way. I only played as a he, but I think I remember reading that you can gender swap. Um, Fighting their way through the criminal underground. But the wrinkle is they have a pendant that when you die, you age, and the aging is it can be a year, it can be 4 years, um, and it has gameplay implications as well. So you only get a certain amount of lives until you die, and it's game over, and you have to start from the start of the demo section. Um, I was blown away with the combat, like truly, like this feels like some of the best melee combat I've experienced in a while,
Mhm.
and and I think that stems from because the demo starts you off very much with this your standard like I played it on a PlayStation controller, so like square square triangle combos of like light and heavy attacks, and there's dodging um and parrying and blocking and stuff too. So like that in itself is not revolutionary. What feels so good about it is how your character and the enemies react in this world. It really feels, I think lived in is cliche, but it feels like the furniture and the walls and the set dressing aren't necessarily set dressing. Like they are integral to the experience, and that, I needed, you use the furniture and walls to throw people up against, right? And you do more damage that way. And the more you can corner people, the better the more damage you're going to do to them and take them out. Because, and, you know, when I throw someone through a wooden, um, folding wall, what am I talking about? You know what I'm talking about? It's like those, like, it's not a curtain, but you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
Uh,
I,
Like
as
a
I
partition type.
Yes,
yeah,
thank you, yeah. Um, when you throw someone through that, like, wooden sticks become available for you to grab to either throw
for
at
sure.
someone or, like, turn into a weapon, and there's, like, bats, beer bottles, so, you can't use everything in the world, but you could use a lot. I was even using, like, footrests to, like, slide under to take people's, like, feet out and then just, like, give them a good wackadoo, you know what I'm saying? And, uh that is where this game starts to shine, is that environmental combat, contextual combat too, because there are takedowns in this game that if you break someone's stamina, you can do a takedown, which gives you health, which in my experience was one of the only ways I got health in the demo. Um,
Okay.
and like this game is brutal, and it's cracking people's skulls on bars. It is like, just absolutely flooring people on the ground. Like it is brutal but very satisfying combat in that way. um so and it really I was people were excited, right? But actually feeling that system, I was like, oh, here we go. And then it interacts with the aging mechanic in an interesting way too, where so you go through a level, and it was funny, the developer challenged us to get through a whole level without dying. I did not do that, unfortunately. Sorry, so glad. But they did dying is important because it has interesting pushes and pulls. So like I said, the more you die, the older you get, and getting older has pros and cons, as it does in real
As it
life.
does, yeah.
Yeah. There is a
You could stay up as late as you want. You can eat whatever you want, whenever you want.
Yep. Keep going. You don't have money for
Uh,
games?
Until you get to a certain,
yeah.
and then that's not true anymore.
Correct.
You
But
don't have to go to school anymore.
true. Very true. Yeah.
Kids, go to school. Don't
Go to
Yep.
don't
school,
listen
please.
to
Very
Yeah.
don't
important.
listen to the King of Late Night.
Yeah. So the when you die, there's this skill tree that pops up basically. So you have the option to start your run again from where you died. But also there's these, I think it's 6 amulets that also have corresponding skills next to them. and you know, as you kill or take out enemies, you level, and then or excuse me, you get XP, and that XP can be spent on buffs, on different moves and combos, like that kind of stuff. And it scales from like the cheapest ones up top here to the bottom of the more expensive ones, but like those I found were the more helpful ones. Like there was a buff that allowed me to hold on to a weapon until the last possible, until it like totally splinters. So when the amulet breaks, those skills are not available to you anymore. If you've upgraded them, you can, or if you've bought them with XP, you can obviously still use them. But like once that's gone, that is gone. Um, at least in the playthrough that I have. But as you get older, your health drops,
Hmm.
but your damage increases too. So there seems to be a balance in what is given and what is taken when you get older. You also start to get a little slower, which is interesting too. And
Sure.
I'm very excited to see that play out over the scope of the game, because I only got the demo I played was from like I believe it was the second chapter of the game, so it skipped a lot of the tutorial and story stuff. Um, but it did enough for me to go, okay, like wait, February was already stacked, but now this is a must play in February, because of that combat system, because of the interesting new mechanic with the aging, and style wise it is gorgeous too. There's a moment where you finish off like kind of a mini boss, and the second you finish him off, the entire color palette totally changes, and the music accents that in interesting ways, and it is I was very taken aback by how much I enjoyed my experience with it. It's also very hard. It is not it is you have to learn patterns and tells, because there's like, you know, there are unparryable moves like in many other games, right? But they hide it a little bit better. It's
Hmm.
like a leg sweep is coming and that leg gets highlighted in orange, and you know that the gameplay is very second to second, so you got to be on alert
Yeah.
while watching it. And whilst the gameplay that we showed on the NGT was very polished, if I do say so myself, that was after like my sixth or seventh run through to fully like understand the systems and what kind of experience you're talking about. But it does have this hypnotic effect similar to like maybe the Arkham games, where when you're feeling it, oh, you're feeling it, and
Yeah.
and your enemies are feeling it too, because you are in this rhythm of blocking, dodging, striking, you know. And it was it was exhilarating. And I like I said, I kind of, when that game was revealed this year on Sony State of Play, I was like, okay, yeah, like that seems cool. I don't know Absolver, so like maybe I'll try it one day. But now this is like February 8th, like give it to me. Like I really want to see how these systems stretch through an entire game. You know, like there's still a lot to prove, right? But I feel like that one demo really sold me on at least giving this a shot. So
Hmm. That's
um,
awesome. I was really kind of worried about it because it's one of those games that when you see it in trailers, it could go either way. Like
Mhm.
you could present it really well, but like once you get your hands on it, it could be super jank. But I'm really excited to hear that you're really high on it.
mhm.
Which which is also good that this game kind of sits alone at the beginning of February. There's a good like 2 weeks before anything else hits, before like the maelstrom of everything
Yeah.
hits at the end of the month. So
But
people will at least have time to sit down and enjoy this
yeah, well,
for
it's
a
gonna
bit.
be hard. It's gonna be hard too, because I agree with that point, but also we'll still be playing
I
Pokemon
mean,
Legends Arceus.
we're in
Uh-huh.
a
Uh-huh.
different world here,
Yeah,
so it's
true, true.
because
Yeah,
we might have other big games that come a week or two early, and
true.
that we'll have to
Yeah.
contend with. So
Oh, yeah. I can't even
yeah,
think about that. I need to get to holiday break, and then we can start thinking about those things.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
um, yeah, I am so high on Sifu. I am excited
You're
for
not supposed to say that out loud. The cops are gonna get. They're
that's
they're
right.
gonna take us out.
They're
Can't.
coming.
5-0, baby, they're here. So yeah, definitely it's only on PS4, PS5, and PC. Um, but I'm excited to pick that up on PlayStation and go from there. I played the
Yeah.
PC build.
Okay.
You know, there was it didn't feel fully optimized yet, but it was a demo. Like I'm not worried about it. What mattered was there, and it made a big impact. So um I may go play a few rounds of it
I'm
after
coming
this.
over.
Yeah. So yeah, John, come over. Yeah, Jill, if you want to come over too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll buy
Um,
you a ticket.
I
Well,
appreciate it.
yeah, we'll expense a ticket. It's Christmas time. John,
Yeah.
before we go over to community emails, what have you
Sure.
been playing? What have you been up to?
Oh my gosh. So the last month of my life has been buried deep within the different expansions of Final Fantasy XIV. In an effort to catch up with the main story, so I could play through Endwalker, which released last week, and do coverage for the website. There's some issues with that, in that when a new expansion comes out for a very popular MMO, there's a lot of lines to get into said MMO, even if you are not to the current content yet. So I'm about a week behind my where I'd want to be at this time, but I am into Endwalker. I am getting a good grasp of where that story's going. I think it's really good so far. So leading into Endwalker, we had just visited another version of our world, one of 12 like mirror planets that have like splintered off, and we saved it from an overwhelming light. So like a holy light that had come and like destroyed most of the planet. We became the Warrior of Darkness. We saved that shard of the world, and we are back in the source, which is our world, the original. And we're going to be fighting against all of the enemies that we have left there. Endwalker is the final conflict in the story that's been going since the original Final Fantasy XIV was released, before A Realm Reborn, before they rebooted it and saved the game. So there's a lot of moving pieces that have been kind of culminating for years and years. And we're like, the first few hours are all set up, and you're going to like a couple different lands that you've heard of before, that a lot of characters are from. And it's what Final Fantasy XIV does really well compared to other MMOs that I've played is I enjoy the downtime a lot.
Interesting.
Like it forces you to go through all of the story quests from every expansion to even get to the new expansion. So
Are
I
we
think
talking hundreds of hours a game at that point?
this character has 12 days worth of game
Oh
time
my
on it.
goodness.
Wow.
12 days.
So there's points where like, yeah, you're doing like epic battles in space against Final Fantasy godlike characters. You're fighting against sometimes the MMO representation of summons from Final Fantasy VII. Like one of the final bosses for one of the expansions is the Knights of the Round summon. And it's like playing out like it would on PS1. It's crazy. It's good. It's amazing. But like there's these downtimes where you're just sitting at a negotiation desk with the leader of another land and trying to come to an agreement, like a standstill on your fighting, and trying to find common ground with your most like it's just like your deepest enemy who's like trying to conquer the land. You're just like chilling, talking to him and trying to see where he's coming from. And so a lot of the beginning of Endwalker is kind of like that. You're doing research, you're visiting a library, you're learning about this the culture in this land, and exploring like everything in I think it's Charlian is one of the new countries that you go to. It's all about like gaining knowledge, and they're a very neutral country. Like they don't want to get into any of the conflicts that are happening. You would want them to help out because you want everyone on your side. But you're trying to be diplomatic and trying to curry favor with people in their government to eventually take your side. So it's like some of that stuff can be kind of boring for people, but I find it super fascinating, and like the world building's incredible. But once you get to like the first dungeon in the game, it's a recreation of the Tower of Zot from Final Fantasy IV. So you're fighting the Magus sisters there. There's a lot of throwbacks to old Final Fantasy stuff. You get some great music, some great visuals, just some
Nice.
cool stuff that you're going through.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of like I'm a couple hours after that now, and we're leading a diplomatic mission into our enemy's territory and trying to like help the help the actual people of the country while like everything around them is on fire and collapsing. And instead of just like we're gonna wage this like holy war against our enemy, we're going in to help their people and like try to figure out a different way of going about it. Eventually this is going to take me to the moon. I don't know how, but I'm looking forward to it.
You know.
Yeah, you know,
not expecting that.
On the moon.
Yeah. Starfield question mark?
Yeah.
Okay, fascinating.
Yeah, this game goes to some wild places. And the developers had promised that like in the expansion as it is, it will finish off the storyline that's been going on for years and years. So once like new patches come out for the game, they're starting a brand new story.
Oh, interesting.
Altogether. So I don't know what that is, and I don't know where that's going. But I'm very interested to see, and I'm excited to see more.
So are you playing this solo, or do you have a group you're running with?
I am playing it solo.
Okay.
So
you're still enjoying it?
Yeah, I am. Because a lot of it is I'm going through the main story quest. A lot of it is just solo stuff. If I need to do dungeon quests or anything, that they have a queuing system. You can queue up and play with random people. Everybody's been super nice. That's always been my experience with Final Fantasy XIV.
Good.
So
Nice.
the community there is very accepting of new players. I don't think the mechanics are super difficult to learn, but like I've had some boneheaded nights where I'm just like dying all over the place. I'm like, sorry everyone, like this is my first time. My first time here, and everyone's super nice. But
that's cool.
You can also just play the whole like once you get to this past expansion and Endwalker, you can actually play those dungeons with NPCs as like the other roles in your party. So
got it.
Yeah.
Well, so then you touched on it a little bit there, but I wanted to ask you, as someone who has the base game sitting on his PC right now, but is so intimidated to jump into that, like, is this the time?
Yes, I guess.
Question mark?
You won't see any of this stuff for quite a while. Any of the
Years,
stuff that I'm seeing. I've played through this entire game this year. So all this time has just been like, mostly this year, I've played through A Realm Reborn on a different character.
Oh no!
With some friends, and then once I started doing catch up for this, I jumped over to my original character and started leveling up. But
because there's new classes, right? In Endwalker, how does that work if you roll? And forgive my ignorance here, listeners, but like, let's say you roll like whatever class you are for this amount of time. Like, does your character just switch eventually? It's like, nah, I feel like being a blood mage or whatever else.
Any character could be any class
at any time.
At any time, all you have to do is like all of the classes level up separately. So you just need to like do the initial quest for that class, and they'll give you a weapon. Each weapon has its own class that it's associated with. So in the new expansion, they have a DPS class called the Reaper. You have a giant scythe. You're doing up close DPS stuff and inheriting the power of a demon, I think. I haven't played much with it. The other one is a Sage, which is a healing class that uses like these orbital devices that kind of like float around you and like shoot healing beams at people and like create barriers. It's a really fun, futuristic looking class that I really want to try out at some point. But those classes, another thing that helps out is those start at level 70. Or
Nice.
yes, yeah, level 70. So like you get that head start for those classes.
For sure.
You just have to get a different class up there.
Okay.
Right now I'm working on my black mage. It's just I always like being a mage in MMOs. It's my go-to. So I'm just gonna try to complete the main story with that, and then I'll go back and I'll try out the Reaper. I'll try out the Sage.
Cool.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So as someone who binged this, would you say it's like is the expansion content fulfilling those hopes and dreams as you played through this, like, or is it like was this too much of a slog to get to, like, are you feeling satisfied with Endwalker so far?
I am. Like I'm honestly I am a little bit burnt out, but that's just playing the same game for a month and a half. Like that's gonna happen. But I am enjoying the story beats. I'm enjoying the characters a lot. The last expansion is a really hard story to compare to because you are going to a completely different world, and they do so much incredible world building for that place. And now you're going back to like the same place that you spent hours and hours before that, fighting a conflict that you're very familiar with. So it's hard to parse how I feel about it yet. I am enjoying it, and like I said, I am slightly burnt out at the same time too. But I am looking forward to seeing it to the end, hopefully this weekend. I just want to keep on pushing through, and I've been trying to stay dark on spoilers and where the story goes and where the characters end up, because that's always all over the place for MMOs whenever a new expansion drops. But
yeah, I was gonna ask, and this is not meant to be dismissive or shade throwing anyway. Is the story good? Like,
it's very good. Oh, it is like probably my favorite Final Fantasy now, like
of all time,
like of all time. But also I'm like, but I mean, my favorite Final Fantasy is my go-to is usually 8. So like a lot of people don't hold a lot of stock in that game to begin with, but I think just the characters you meet along the way, the journey that you take with them, especially in an MMO setting, like you never get that kind of quality time with well-defined characters and really knowing them and feeling that they are your partners in this crusade. It's a well-realized world. Even like the side worlds that you go to are super well realized. It takes you to wild places. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of points where I'm just like laughing. Like it's genuinely funny. It's genuinely touching. I'm excited to see where it goes. And that's why after a month and a half, I haven't like given up. I haven't talked to Ben and like, hey, can we have someone else do this? I really wanted to see this through. So, cool. Yeah, it's so hard to recommend though, because it takes so long to get through it. And I think the main thing I could probably suggest to you is whenever you do want to try playing it, treat it like a season of a TV show. Like, kind of like, okay, I want to get to like this point. I want to get through this expansion or whatever. Like, you can do it in manageable chunks. You don't have to go all out for a couple months.
For sure.
But
cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, I think that's a great look. I'm curious. I don't know if we'll hear more about it from you before the end of the year, but I think that's a good slice. And yeah, we can. Yeah. Or sorry, I should say on the podcast. I'm sure
you'll hear about it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But we may have to check
in a future podcast. Can we pretend that John is on the moon? Like have a moon background. Like, hello,
let me see if I can find something here.
Yeah, we can
am the
find this
Endwalker.
Yeah. I love it. So, well, cool. Thank you for that. Thank you both for your lovely insights. I'm gonna get.
I love
it's
it.
the closest thing.
Yeah, it ain't bad though.
The moon pencil.
Look at that, the pencil in there. Yeah, that looks good. Audio listeners are loving this.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna go. If y'all excuse me for a second, I'm gonna go find where the hell Alex went with my popcorn, and we will take a short break. So be right back.
Welcome back to the Game Informer show. Man, what a playlist. I mean, it was a great week. It was a big week. But the fun continues. But first, we're going to get into housekeeping. But before we do that, we've got some new faces on the second half of the show. Of course, Alex is still here. I'm still here. Joining us this week, we got Dan Tack. Hello, Dan.
Hey, it's great to be here, Alex. Thanks for having me on the show. I think we're looking forward to a really hot one today.
Yes,
Woo-hoo.
yes, a scorcher, some might say. Joining us as well, Kimberly Wallace, aka K Star. How you doing, Kim?
Good. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
That's what I'm talking about. The energy is here today. Rounding up the panel this week, Marcus Stewart. Hello, Marcus.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for joining us, Marcus. That was very dramatic, but
Wasn't sure if you were birthing down
I
there.
thought
or what
something was
going
happening.
on.
I thought
could-
something was going to happen.
I couldn't match Kim's energy, so I was like, I should go the hard opposite.
I see. I
Brian
see.
Shea
Well,
route.
welcome
Oh,
to the
yeah.
panel, everybody. Let's continue with the show. We're going to start off with housekeeping, then get into listener emails. We've also got the results from our Game Award predictions 2 weeks ago now. But starting off housekeeping, we always start off with a new listener review. Of course, if you take the time to go to Apple Podcasts and leave us an honest review, we want to say thank you. And because it does help us if people are looking for a new podcast, a lot of times they'll check out the reviews. And if they have nice, fresh reviews from nice listeners, then, hey, it might help us out. So this week, we want to say thank you to Seth M. Seth wrote in a 5-star review saying, running strong. Seth says, I started listening around a year ago, and no podcast has stuck with me like the Game Informer show. I enjoyed the Ben era, but also enjoy the variety that the Alex and Van Aken era brings. Keep up the great work, Seth M. Seth, thank you so much for that listener review, my friend. Thanks for taking that, 5 minutes out of your day to do that. I know that, that's that time is the ultimate commodity, right? So thank you for doing that, Seth. We appreciate you. Moving on, our Thursday stream this week at 2 p.m. Central over at twitch.tv/Game Informer. Ben Reeves and Mr. Marcus Stewart here are going to be playing through some of their favorite games from 2021. Any teasers, Marcus? What do you guys do? You know any games you're playing?
We'll definitely be playing our goty, which would be some Halo Infinite
Sweet.
action. And Ben and I will be teaming up for some It Takes Two for a bit.
Oh, that's
And
fun.
I don't want to spoil any more from there, but it should be a fun reflection of the year past.
Awesome.
Love
Again, Thursday, the day you're listening to this, twitch.tv/Game Informer, 2 p.m. Central. That's every week. We're streaming at that time, so come hang out. Notable YouTube videos this week. I finally got up my Deathloop video essay. It's called How Deathloop Works, breaking down Arcane's brilliant game design. If you like Deathloop, or if you're curious about Deathloop, it was a big talker this year. And it ranked very high on our top 10 list as a website. If you want to know more about that game, go check it out. youtube.com/Game Informer. I'd appreciate it. And then social media plugs. This is where you can talk to us on Twitter, Instagram, all that fun stuff. You can find Stadnik at Stadnik76. You can find me at It's Van Aken. Follow Marcus at Marcus Stewart 7. Follow Kim at KStar1785. Dan at Dan Tack. John, who was on earlier, is at John_Carson. And of course, Jill at Finruin, FINRUIN. So go tell everybody that they did a great job this week on the show. Yell at me about something that went wrong on the show. Thanks for following us there. And then lastly, the very last thing, Video Gameography and All Things Nintendo. Those are our 2 other flagship podcasts. Go check out All Things Nintendo for the latest, you guessed it, Nintendo news. And go check out Video Gameography. We finished up our Metroid series Season 1 playthrough. That's hosted by Marcus Stewart and Ben Reeves. Now they're getting into Halo. Has that been announced, Marcus?
Yes. As of the
Spoil the
Metroid,
whole thing.
as of the Metroid Dread episode, we did announce it. Yes.
Okay, cool. So with all the Halo hype, Halo Infinite's great reception, seems like a perfect time to play through the Halo game. So I'm very much looking forward to that this upcoming season. So go check it out, both of those podcasts. And yeah, Alex, I think it's time to get into the listener emails.
Yeah, I am so excited. So before we kick off listener emails, we're going to do the much requested Game Awards prediction results.
Oh no.
And oh yes, here
Oh,
we
you
go.
no.
You have an envelope that you can unseal, or
Let's see. I have my COVID
The fix is in.
shots thing. No, I don't have it yet. I have a notebook, but
Okay.
So if you weren't paying attention 2 weeks ago, I think now 2 or 3 weeks ago now,
2 weeks ago.
we did a whole predictions episode for the Game Awards. Game Awards happened, and it was a bloodbath, ladies and gentlemen. We struck out on a lot of categories, including Game of the Year.
Yeah, we did.
I did say It Takes Two would probably beat Deathloop.
You
Does
only
that
get
count
one
for
vote.
something?
No.
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 So here's I've tallied the results. We're not going to go category by category just because this is already a long episode. But I know people were curious to hear who won.
Yeah.
Can
you announce it from like worst to best?
Yes.
Do
Oh,
you have 'em
definitely.
ordered?
Oh
Yeah.
no.
I do.
Lord.
Oh yeah. So scientifically, I went through these multiple times. I checked it twice. My list checked out both times. But if you feel like you've been slighted, you have a week to bring it up to me, and we can recount. But so let's start with this. We did predictions for what would be announced, right? None of us got anything right besides one K-star Kim Wallace, because she said Final Fantasy 16 will not be there.
I thought we weren't counting that.
No, we said we weren't
counting that.
Hey,
we weren't.
Let me have this one. Let me.
I mean,
have
you
it.
could take it. You could take it, but next year I'll just be like, yeah, this
Whatever, let me
tons of
have
things
this
won't be
one.
there. Give me points.
Here's the thing. Even if we count or don't count it, Kim was right, and it doesn't matter to the the ending score.
That's
fine.
how bad my score was.
Well,
let's give her a pity.
So, and just to recap here, the predictions. Marcus predicted avowed reveal, TMNT Shredder's Revenge release date, Prince of Persia remake re-reveal. None of the above. Good. I like the energy though, Marcus.
That's 2 years in a row that Avowed has let me
down. You know what? Hey,
before
I just want to say something. I think that these predictions are a good indicator of the optimism and the spirit that we have here. Next year, I'll just be like, yeah, they're not going to show anything interesting. Boom, got them. What is that? What you want me to do?
Zing!
I like that. I'm glad that was a nice way to say.
I mean, that's what I did. I said all the stuff that wasn't going to be there.
Yeah. Van Aken said, this sucks, Van Aken. New Splinter Cell announcement. You were off by literally a week.
Hey, at least you got it.
They did you so dirty. Yeah. Bluepoint teases new IP, Breath of the Wild 2 release date trailer, and Hogwarts Legacy gameplay, which I was a big fan of that last one. It did not come to fruition.
I'm surprised about the last one.
Yeah, that was the one I thought was the most plausible out of all of us.
Yeah. Kim said, and then on top of the Final Fantasy 16 one, Kim said Mass Effect and Dragon Age will be shown with concept art and no gameplay. Wasn't there. And then God of War gameplay. Obviously, Kratos was busy being a father somewhere else. So, Dan said Dragon's Dogma 2, new BioShock, which I thought had a lot of steam going into the show because there were rumors swirling. Final Fantasy Tactics Remaster and Chrono Cross Remake. So, once again, Dan, love the optimism.
Hey, optimism. Stay tuned.
Oh, little Dan predicts, huh?
Game Awards 2022.
It's coming, baby, next year. And then finally, I did Gotham Knights release date, Fable in-engine footage, and in the Valley of Gods reveal. Gotham Knights, I got taken over by
Smith. That in Valley of the Gods prediction. What were you thinking?
I'm trying to like manifest.
You wanted to lose.
You're gonna have to manifest real hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll go talk to Valve. It'll be fine. But so and then last week we did kind of the recap of the big awards for Game Awards, and we talked about some of our issues and our happiness with the award show. But without further ado, Mr. Van Aken coming in dead last.
Dude.
9 points, nine categories correct. Which
that's pretty good.
9 is good. This is pretty close.
I had in my brain, I was like, as long as I'm not last. I'm pretty good at that.
But you're getting Splinter Cell.
Yeah, that's my consolation prize.
So you're a real winner there. Yeah. Marcus coming in second to last with 10. I'm sorry, my friend.
At least I hit the double digits.
Yeah. That's your consolation
if
there.
You can't win, get your stats up.
Yeah. And then we have a tie for second place.
Oh.
Dan Tack and yours truly with 11 right. So that means the one and only K-Star with 13 right points is your victor for this year. Let's go.
Hey.
Congrats, K-Star.
Congrats.
K-Star,
I'm glad you won, Kim.
We need a K-Star theme song, guys.
If it wasn't me, I wanted it to be you.
It's the K-Star.
Go so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I like it. Well, and see, that's why I said, so even if we deducted her point from her prediction,
Yeah.
she would still have 12 and still beat us.
It's
yeah,
all
she's-
gravy.
It was
Yeah.
like extra credit at that point.
Yeah,
Mhm.
right. She was just
Wow.
flexing. I was trying to see. There's a couple of categories Kim just got outright by herself. Oh, the one I wanted to highlight before we move on to community. Kim voted with her heart for Near Replicant winning best music,
Mm.
and that was a difference maker. So, Kim, we aspire to be you. That's all I'll say.
Have faith in Nier. That's all I can say. That's what
Do you
I
want-
do every time.
Do you have an acceptance speech planned for us?
Oh no, I was gonna do they really like
And
me,
we're
but I'm
on to
like,
the next
no,
commercial.
but-
Thank you so much. We
Yeah.
appreciate
Oh,
you.
there you go.
Jeff Feely's trying to get you off the stage.
Do you have an acceptance speech? I wasn't actually going to kick you off.
No, I don't have one because this
Is
was
it about the
pure-
Oscars?
It
We
was
could talk
pure
about the
luck.
Oscars.
It was pure luck, a little bit of smarts, and believing in Nier. Like I said, end thing, always believe in Nier. Yoko Taro.
Shout out.
That should go to Okabe actually, because he's the one who does the music. Like never doubt.
Never doubt.
Never
and
doubt.
it paid off. So well done on that. But a lot of fun. Thank you to everyone who watched or listened to that episode and enjoyed it, because I know I always love the prediction stuff that we get to do. I think next year we got to throw a little extra spice on it. I'll come up with better rules and stuff.
It was funny because as the show was going on and I was watching and covering it for Game Informer, I kept going, oh God, I got another one wrong. Oh no, that
Right?
was so off. So I didn't think I was winning this at all. It
Yeah.
was a nice surprise.
Yeah, there you go. There was like a good section of like the top tier ones. I was like, okay, I'm getting all of these. This is good. And then there's like a a drought for me
Mhm.
where it's like I didn't get any of like the like community games or ongoing game. Marcus sitting there guessing Lady D for best performance.
Yeah.
That was probably my one like Hail Mary.
You got it. And like I said, none of us got game of the year. That was It Takes Two. None of us got best narrative, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Happy to see it though.
Yeah. Good game. Good game. But yeah, fun stuff. You know, I'm sure with E3 and some of the other shows coming up next year, this will not be the last you hear from our dumb predictions. But moving right along to listener emails. Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of my favorite parts of the show where we get to hear from you and you get to tell us what to say. If you send it in your question to podcast@gameinformer.com or our Discord, which Alex, remind me, you've been gone. How do you get into the Discord?
By linking your Twitch account to your Discord account in the Discord app, and then going over and subscribing on twitch.tv/GameInformer. You can use real money. You can use your Amazon Prime subscription. That comes with your free monthly Twitch Prime subscription to gain access to the Discord server.
Can I use cookies? Cookies and milk? Perhaps some eggnog for the season?
Here, like 100%. If you send me cookies, like actual cookies, I will put you into our Discord.
You'll let me
Yeah.
in? You'll let me into that Discord? Well, I am
If
on
you
my
give
way.
me that stuff, I will give you 2 invites, one for you
Now,
and
Alex,
one for a friend.
there's some
Oh.
bad cookies out there. You'll take any cookie?
Well, hold on here. What
Like
what
those
is your-
holiday cookies that are out right now. Those are like a mixed bag.
There's some bad
Oh,
ones.
so good. No, the holiday, any kind of holiday cookie, any holiday cookie.
Mm.
We'll get some nice.
If
we'll
it's
get
one
some-
of those
Oh, it's
like
a-
red or green, like dry sugar cookies that people like put into like Christmas tree shapes, and like when you bite
Yep.
into them, it's
Yeah,
like
but
the
no,
Sahara.
I think that's
Nobody
just a
makes those.
sugar
Nobody
cookie.
makes those.
Banned.
Those aren't
Everybody
real.
makes those.
Those are
what
made
everybody
for
gives.
TV spots. Those aren't
My
actually
grandma
consumed.
makes them.
Yeah, they are made because they can stay out and they like look good even after like a week, right? They're
I'm gonna
made
give
for
you
like
those gross like 3-tiered red, green, and yellow like cookies that look like little cakes, but they're like
There you go.
disgusting.
Here we go. Start sending us cookies, and you'll know if we like them or not by if you get your invite.
Real quick, real
He'll eat
quick.
he'll eat each one on air.
Can I tell you my
Competition.
favorite holiday treat?
Yes,
Go.
of course.
My mom has been making since I was a child potato candy. Have you ever had this?
I think we
No.
talked about this. Yeah.
You
What?
boil potatoes and you mash them like you'd be making mashed potatoes. Yeah, thank you.
boil them, mash them, put them in a stew. I
But
had to say it,
then-
right?
after you boiled and mashed them, you put in powdered sugar and you roll it into a dough-like substance. Then you flatten it out with one of those the baking
Alex,
rollers.
are you dying?
No.
Yeah,
No,
Dan-
that one.
Dan
the
killed
other
him.
Alex.
I tried not to spit take at the YouTube video that Dan brought up. Continue, Alex. Sorry.
You roll it out into a flat, like probably like ½ inch, and then you coat the inside with peanut butter, and then you roll it up, cover it in like plastic wrap, and put it in the fridge overnight, and then you slice it into these little pieces of candy. Phenomenal. Best favorite holiday treat ever.
There's a new Reese's out that has potato chips in the middle. Has anybody tried that?
Wait, what?
Yeah,
No,
there's a
because
Reese's.
every day we stray further from God's light, and
That's
that
what
is
I'm saying. This is what it sounds like when you're saying peanut butter, chocolate, like
Did your mom work
potato.
for Reese's?
Yeah,
Is
did
that
your
what you were
mom
getting at?
inspire Reese's? I don't.
Yes, she did.
I've been curious about how that is, by the way. Our Overblood Club says it's no good from what I've seen, but I'm still
Alex's
curious.
mom's cooking.
No, yeah. No,
Well, my mom's cooking is awful. Her baking though, next
Baking
level.
top tier. There you
God, I
go.
want to try it at Reese's, but I'm like thinking it's like biting
If
into
you see-
shards
if
of
we see-
glass.
if
just
we all-
shards of potato
If we all
chips.
see it, we should pick it up and like each try it on the show for like
Okay.
a live take, a
I like
live
that.
review.
I like
I'm
that.
for it.
Yeah. So if your mom sends in her potato treat,
I genuinely
be
want
in
to
the
try
Oh,
this.
potato candy.
I want to try
candy.
the potato candy. That
we
sounds fascinating.
with that potato candy that'll get you into the Discord. So
Yes, it
keep
will.
that in mind.
You have to make everyone make their own potato candy. See who can follow the recipe the best.
There you go.
Perfect.
Oh, I like that. Anyways, send us community questions. We love it. We're here for it. Just like the three lovelies over on Discord did this week. Starting off with Casey David coming in saying, "Oh, I wrote an article recently about difficult bosses in RPGs. And I'm curious what bosses in games have caused y'all to cry in frustration or scream with rage, which have absolutely murdered you." Okay, just a continuation of that.
I've had many, but I've wiped them from my memory. Like, there's a reason
You
why
repress
I
them?
don't. Yeah, I repress it. I can't. Like, there have been many controllers thrown down on the bed.
Mhm.
My favorite is the damn it that I do.
Can you do
Sorry,
that
I'm
again?
sorry. What?
You step on a dog?
Yeah, I had a
That was-
bunch of SMT5 is probably the most recent where the end bosses were like maddening, but I can't tell you their names anymore because I was just like, nope, out of my mind. I'm done. I beat it. I have it, whatever. But I'm sure like what you guys have to have like some Dark Souls Bloodborne stuff in mind, right? For this question. This question just
don't.
seems ripe for that. I just don't have any off the top of my head. I remember when I was younger there were some JRPG bosses that I'd like to forget, but it sometimes they would make the last boss really easy just to like be like, you're done. I don't know.
I feel like I never got that. Mine is an RPG boss. The second time you fight Maester Seymour in Final Fantasy X on Gagazet Mountain, I remember the first time I got there, it was like an absolute nightmare.
Really?
like,
Were you just not
This,
leveled?
this is your something.
well, I
wow.
don't. Maybe I wasn't. It was the first time the game had just come out, and I was younger. I mean, not that young, but like
when you're young,
younger.
you don't
And-
pay attention to the stuff you need to on those spear grids and
And I-
whatever.
Yeah, and I wasn't like inexperienced. Like I played other Final Fantasy and JRPGs, so it wasn't like my first rodeo. But I just remember him just kicking the crap out of me. And what made it worse is that I was stuck on him. And there was one night where I was, you get tired, like I'm gonna walk away for a while and come back
Yeah.
later. And at this time, my younger cousins were over my house like for a week or something like that.
Did
And
they
I had
pick it up and beat it immediately? Please
no,
tell me
I wish that's what it was.
happened.
I went to go do like back to school shopping with my mom, and I came back like full of like piss and vinegar, like, all right, I'm gonna do it. And I boot up my save, and my save is gone. Like they somehow
You're cut. Oh,
deleted
hell no.
my entire Final Fantasy X save file. I still to this day don't know how they could do it because like that's not a thing you can do accidentally. Like you have to very
They
deliberately
did that on
go
purpose.
into the memory card.
You
But they're
pissed
really
them off.
young. But they're
No,
pretty
you
young.
pissed them off.
I-
You didn't share or something, and that was the end result.
I was hogging all the potato candy, and they were not having it.
They were tired of seeing you try to fight that boss. They were like, let's just get rid of the problem.
Let's put him out of his misery. So I remember just like being furious because then I couldn't even try again. So I had to replay Final Fantasy X
Oh,
all
did
over
you-
again.
Did you go back immediately and do it, or did you like give it some time?
It was like later that night. Like there was a few
dude,
hours.
That's commitment. That is.
Yeah, there
effing
was a few
commitment.
hours where I was like stewing, just like questioning every life decision up to that point. But I was so
Wow.
engaged with the story. I was like, I have to see how this ends. And at least it made it easier. Like, well, now I know what to do. So I
Yeah.
was like much better leveled and got extra stuff I didn't get the first time around. So
See, I got all the ultimate weapons. I dodged those lightning bolts. I did all the dumb stuff that you could possibly do. So the game was super easy for me. You didn't even need those weapons. I don't know why I put myself through it. I still.
Oh yeah, I've never done that. As much as I love that game, I've never done
Chocobo
the lightning
racing,
thing. I don't have patience for that.
getting your timing under 0. I did that. Oh boy, I had a lot more patience back in the day, kids. Not anymore.
No.
Yeah. Mr. Seymour sucks. The worst.
Boo. Boo him. Tack, how about you?
Yeah, first I want to say, like, I've never thrown a controller or smashed a keyboard.
No way.
I've never smashed a keyboard, but I
I
have
mean, it's
never
just like-
thrown a controller?
I have certainly had frustration, but I don't think I get to that level. It all gets like internalized and built up, and then like eventually, comes out when I win in a good way. So I'd try to do that if you can, like rather than just get angry. But on Ishin, the boss of Sekiro is probably the one that gave me the most trouble out of any boss in any game ever. He took me anywhere between 5 to 8 hours to take down. I don't really recall. It was a long day. It was a frustrating day, but it was not. Again, at no point did I like, I'll get frustrated, but I'm not going to go like this email clearly cites, the rage gamer, kind of thing where it's like, I'm gonna break something because I can't do this. I don't know. I guess over the years I've just sort of like mind melded to, I don't know, accentuate the triumph rather than the actual ordeal that you may go through, right? Because it is one, but it makes the victory that much better. I'd rather
great when you
the
finally
victory's
see it.
If there's no challenge, if it's not hard, who cares if you win or not? You know what I mean? Like, you don't. Your body's just like, well, let's go on to the next thing. Let's keep rolling. When it gives you a situation where you have to like figure it out or do anything, whatever you got to do, even if that's just going to grind some creatures, it becomes a hurdle to overcome rather than just something you hit the button to defeat and move on and get on to the next part. Like, sometimes I feel like we're just going through games just being like, all right, thing, done. All right, next game. Thing, done. It's like when you could take your time and really get into an experience, then it becomes something special, in my opinion. But we're getting really off topic here, and play games, enjoy them.
Philosophical tack today.
I feel like I went to a therapy corner here. I should rethink my life.
He said the
Speaking of
games are too
therapy,
damn
if you-
easy.
No, that isn't what I said. And
Oh no, Marcus! Everybody's gonna come after him now.
I know. I was ready for that when I answered, but that I think having an experience in a game, something that you can call an experience, is more interesting than just going through the motions, which I feel like games can become. But that's all I'm saying. I am not saying that there shouldn't be easy modes. Okay, please don't kill me. All right, go ahead.
That elation when you see the victory screen finally, when you really had to work at it. I think that was my favorite part about a lot of SMT bosses, and what I like is that feeling finally, like, I want to do a freaking victory lap and then some when I finish those. I'm like, finally, it feels so good. And I think that's what Dan is, talking about, is just that feeling that you get opposed to just like going through a battle and it's like you're on autopilot and like, I know what to do and this is going to be, simple. Like, when you have to really work for it, it's so rewarding when it's finally, when you finally see the victory screen.
Definitely. Alex, were you going to chime in?
Yeah, I was going to say, speaking of therapy, if you're actively breaking controllers playing games, you should go to therapy instead. It's a lot cheaper.
I said I threw my controller once, and I'm never going to hear the end of it.
I mean, I'll go throw a controller in solidarity if you
Also,
maybe it's not cheaper, but it's healthier.
Yeah, I've never understood the drive to breaking. Maybe because my mom would have murdered me if I did that, because we did not have controller breaking money. But
same.
I mean, you always see those higher profile examples online where people just go at their TVs or monitors. Like, I can imagine that.
He forces you to do that.
I might be like playing a game and like do that, but I'm not gonna like, toss it across the room. I might like slam it on my lap for a second, like in frustration, but that's the extent of it.
Yeah.
We don't throw controllers anymore in this condo because
anymore
because my fiance got stuck at a bad checkpoint in BioShock 2, which just kept reloading him into a really like problematic area, and he got so pissed off he slammed the controller down on the bed. It bounced off on the bed and smacked me in the face.
Oh my
So
gosh.
he felt so bad. Like I've never, but like that's why you don't, there's no more.
You guys aren't supposed to sleep on trampolines.
That's why
think-
we don't throw controllers, because you can get hurt.
There you go.
Wow.
I think my pick is actually a recent one.
Ooh.
Last week, I'm playing through
Ooh.
Bloodborne right now.
Okay.
I'm about halfway through, maybe over halfway through. I just turned it into the Red Moon is out now. But last week I was fighting the third boss, who's optional, the Blood-Starved Beast.
Yep.
And on my first try, I got him down to 5% health. And I got too greedy and got killed. I was like, I almost first tried that. Let's go. I'm back in. Well, the first like 2 tries, I exhausted all of the really great items that I could use, like fire paper and my potion, my blood potions. And so it took me another 2.5 days to beat him, and probably 7 or 8 tries. And I was so frustrated at myself because I had wasted my good items, but I finally beat him without, any special items. And the triumph, as Dan said, it felt great. And then I went on and, kept chugging along. So I'm feeling good. But the Blood-Starved Beast I was Googling like most difficult Bloodborne bosses to see like where
He's
the
not one of them.
Yeah, I know. And I was like, I was so mad. I was like, this is making me feel much worse.
But don't worry, they're coming. And those ones, if you do end up doing the DLC, Alex, you're going to be a new person when you're done out of that. Let me tell you,
Cool.
you will be forged out of oaken steel at that point. All right, it'll be great. It'll be great. Seriously, the DLC is amazing, but the DLC is you're gonna be challenged in the DLC, and it's gonna be really awesome. It's gonna be fun. Again, it's all about just zenning out, like just being like, yeah, you know what, I like some games that people get so angry at, like DBD, for example. There's so many people that just go full salt in that game, and I'm just somehow managed to be like, yeah, sure, they blinded me for 100% of the match, and they kept teabagging me, and they just destroyed the heck out of me, and I'm just like, GG, move
on
on
to the next one.
Yeah. You know what? Hey, let's have a good time. Life's too short.
Attitude.
Yeah, that's good. You're pointing out to me how unhealthy my gaming habits used to be back in the day. That's good. Because Kim, I am with you. There's been controllers thrown in my house. It's gonna call a spade, especially when my buddies and I would play sports games against each other.
Oh yeah.
On the couch. Oh, things got heated. There was one.
Yeah.
I've thrown a controller or two. Don't get me wrong, but there was one time my buddy chucked one of my Xbox controllers so hard that we opened up the inside of it, and the entirety of the inside was shattered. Like I've never seen anything like that. Yeah, of course. He also like modded it, or not modded it, but he like put it back together and put like
he
different stuff
modded
on
it with duct tape.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. For me, let's keep it in the realm of Souls here. The Man-Eater in Demon Souls PS5 literally made me quit the game. I said I was
Come
absolutely
on, Alex, you can
done.
do
Hold
it.
on, it gets even better because I spent hours on this boss, and for the life of me, I could not figure out what the hell like the thing was. Because on every other boss, I was like, okay, I'm picking this up.
He's got a thing.
The tells, and I even looked it up, and I was doing what it was saying. Didn't matter. And then I watched you MFers on stream. Marcus just got the big club, swings it like 4 times, and it's done. And I was like,
yeah, we got him a. He was gonna have a lot of trouble doing it the other way, but eventually he put down the shield. Marcus decided to become a big boy, and he decided to use some of that big man swag, and he got in there.
Yeah, it made me so mad because I was like, this is the thing that literally killed this game for me, and to see him do it in like 5 swings, I was like,
through it.
Ugh.
Well, to be fair, he got his lumps in before he tore through.
Yeah, I paid my dues.
Yeah. And
Also,
it made me
quick
go like,
shout out to Oh no, go on, Alex.
no, go for it.
No, I was gonna say like quick shout out because I don't think these bosses get enough recognition. But old school fighting game final bosses used to be nightmares. Like Shao Kahn
they were like
MK2
programmed to
and
be
3.
impossible.
Well, yes, that's true, but just still, like even like the home versions, like MK2 and 3, Shao Kahn, absolute nightmare. Motaro in MK3 was absurdly broken, couldn't do anything against them basically. those were probably my first real like I hate this game moment of like what did they expect? What did they want from me here?
Yeah.
Your quarters. That's what
It's like
they
I'm at
want.
home. I'm
That's
playing this
true.
on. I'm playing this on Genesis.
They want
What do
your
you
quarters at home too, man.
Oh, and then special shout out, Burn in Hell, the Valkyrie Queen from God of War 2018.
Oh,
I was going for the platinum on God of War, and I could not figure
Ooh.
out her tell. I could not figure out how to do it, and it ended my. I beat that game, but like I wanted the
you
platinum.
didn't beat her.
I never beat her. It's
Oh,
one of
if
my
it makes
great.
You
you
never
feel-
got the plat?
Never got the platinum.
You gotta
Mm-mm.
go back.
Oh
I
man.
can't. There's too much, Marcus.
Yeah, if
There's
it
too
makes you-
much to
Waited
do.
too long. His skills are rusty.
know.
You go back
Give
now.
Dan the
it's like,
controller.
Yeah, if it makes you feel better, Alex, I beat her.
Oh,
Oh, thank God. Okay, now I never have to go back.
For you, so
Yeah.
now
so
you
did my
don't have
8-year-old brother
to.
too, actually. Yeah.
All right. Oh, okay. Yeah. No,
Damn.
I am gonna have to go back.
Shots fired.
Yeah, Alex, you're gonna have to go back to Demon Souls too. Sorry, that's the rules.
Yeah, you got to do Maneater and the Valkyrie Queen in one day.
Otherwise, what's the consequence for not? I just have to keep playing it.
Game.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no shame. It's
Yeah.
just you have to live with that hole inside you for forever.
Shame.
That's not
AKA.
shame.
Yeah.
That's a different emotion.
Yeah.
This was a great
Emptiness.
question, by the way.
This
Yeah.
turned out
Good
really
answers.
nice. Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to Casey. Hope your article turned out well.
Yeah.
Cody Gibson writes in from Discord and says, "Are you stat people?" It's a very personal question. I ask because I like to get those end of year wrap ups like Spotify does with your music. And I just got my Nintendo stats for the year. Always enjoying looking back on any kind of info. Keep up the great work. I love the show. Thank you, Cody. We appreciate you listening/watching. I love end of year stuff. I don't know why, but I absolutely love looking back. And it's kind of like an accomplishment thing for me too, which is dumb. Like I'm looking at my Nintendo thing right now. I got 275 hours played on the Switch.
Each.
Oh, what you got? What do you have?
I had 346.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, I was closer to that last year.
Ooh.
I didn't have Animal Crossing this year. That's the difference.
Yeah, the Animal Crossing, because mine was like over 300 last year. I think it was like almost half that this year because of lack of Animal Crossing.
Mm-hmm. I was a little not disappointed. It's not the right word, but my most played game apparently was Skyward Sword HD. I put 27 hours into it. I didn't beat it, and I was like, yeah, that's. I don't know why. I was expecting like Pokemon
Yeah,
or something.
'cause that was your first time playing it too, right?
It was. Still haven't beat it. I think I can officially say Skyward Sword is not for me. And that makes me sad.
Did you
Oh
get stuck on a
boy,
hard boss?
Alex, you better find something to hide in because they're
Come at
coming.
me. Come
They're
at
coming.
me. Those
So
games.
So now you have to beat
People
Skyward
support
Sword.
him.
Yeah,
Half
right.
of the people will support him, half will not. That's
They're
Well, I'll
coming.
go ahead and say
They're
this.
coming.
Skyward Sword is bad.
Oh,
Oh my god. Okay.
I never played that game.
I wasn't here. I wasn't here. I'm gonna have to go into witness protection after being on this podcast.
I think it's cool you gave it that try, and now you know that's just not one of the entries for you.
Story was cool. Some of the best music in the series, but like that's just the combat controls on the Switch just did not do it for me, and I lost interest. So, which is a bummer because I think I was in the last like third of that game.
Yeah, especially
Give it a
because the
good
game
shot.
really picks up at hour 30. And you're really missing out.
That's what
Oh.
every RPG someone will say that to someone else, like, "Oh, but you just need to
Just
do
wait till
10
50 hours in.
Yeah, it
twist.
It's
really.
like, I'm at the final boss, bro. Is there more?
It gets good after 80 hours. Come on.
Eyes are bleeding, fingers are crushed. How about y'all? Do you like the stats, the Spotify rap?
I have a little bit opposite from you. I find that I feel they shame me a bit because they make me realize that I play certain games way too much, and I realize that I put way too much. Like, I'll at the end of it for people, we've talked about this before on the podcast, so I'm not going to be embarrassed. NHL, I always have 500 hours in it every year, and it's because that's like my calm down, like, I'm a very, like, that helps with anxiety, so that shows you how anxious of a person I can be. But other than that, I find it interesting because there are games I didn't like. My top 3 this year, and this was really interesting to me, was like SMT 5 was the highest, which I had like 72 hours in. Then it was Neo: The World Ends With You, I had 56 hours in. And then 50 hours into Slay the Spire, which didn't even come out this year. It was last year.
Great game.
But yeah, I mean, it shows
knew?
like I know, Dan. I should have played it sooner. It would have been on my top 10 list had I played it that year. But I waited, and then I got really engaged with it. But the Nintendo stats, like I said, are always interesting to me because it shows how much too that I play in handheld versus docked. Because like mine was like, I think I spent 29 hours this year in docked, and like all the rest was like over like 300 hours in handheld mode, and I was just laughing because I was like, wow, that's a big difference. And like I was really trying to dock actually more this year with the RPGs in general, because like when I review them I want to see what the different, and they just never look good when I dock. Like everything just looks better in handheld mode, and it's I like find it easy to just like turn on something that like you're kind of half engaged with, you know, like I don't know, an episode of Catfish or like a sports game that's gone terribly wrong. Like when my team starts losing, then I just like pick up my Switch and I'll play and kind of half pay attention to see if there's going to be a change. But
basically from kickoff on the Viking games, I pick my Switch up, so I feel that.
So it's interesting to me how much because in the past, I mean, I didn't handheld game as much. I, for a while, worked downtown Chicago, so when I took the train, I did a lot of DS, but then that kind of, you know, sputtered out when I joined Game Informer, and I play much more on my PS5, but I think this year actually changed. I played much more, I think, on my Switch than I ever have before.
Gotcha. Cool. Anyone else? Dan?
Yeah, you know, I was going over my... interestingly enough for me, it was my Twitch streamed stats that I was curious about which games I'd played most. They kind of surprised me, actually, since I'm a variety streamer. Like, it's all over the place, but I was really... Like, my number one most watched category was Dead by Daylight, which I had no idea it was going to be. Like,
and that was pretty recent
blew my mind.
that you got into that, I feel like.
I mean, yeah, it's been over the last year, so it's not that surprising, but, like, it's not like a usual thing, right? I just do it sometimes. Right. So, like, it surprised me as it was my most watched category. And then number 2 surprised me as well. My second most watched category was Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Hey!
Like, that, I mean, I get it. A full playthrough of that game is extraordinarily long. Trust me, I know. But still, second most watched category. And then Dark Souls number 3, Dark Souls 3, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Fire Emblem 3 Houses was number 4.
You played that and I missed it?
Yeah, you know, I kind of played through the whole thing. Don't worry about it. I was watching some Catfish on one screen and playing Fire Emblem on the other screen.
You gotta watch the Catfish while you're playing.
All right.
Said, like, I was watching a History Channel.
I've watched a lot of Catfish in my life, okay?
90 Day Fiance. Yeah.
Say yes to the dress.
Tech, how do you have time to do all the things that you do? Do you not sleep?
You have to multitask.
He's not human.
He's hiding 2 extra arms below camera frame.
Here's my last stream game. You know, New World was also on the list. A game that you can totally watch Catfish while you play because, you know, you can walk around in the circle and mine ore for 3 hours, and that's fun, and that's okay.
Is it?
Yeah, if you like that kind of thing.
Yeah. You think Catfish will sponsor us after this episode? Is that show still happening?
I'm calling them up right now. Hey,
so,
MTV, where you at?
I don't know if it's still going. They were doing episodes in quarantine, and it just wasn't the same. I'm not saying I watched
a little harder
some of those.
Yeah, I gotta go. Hey.
Wait, did they just end on the show because you couldn't go see who the person was?
I would like to see the quarantine episode.
They keep bringing people into Zoom chats, and they're like, "Hey, can you hop into our Zoom chat right now?" And the person's instantly there right away, and I'm like, "Oh my, I can't with this. I can't."
They're like, "Listen, we still have a contract we have to fulfill."
I know a lot of that stuff is fake, but they at least need to keep the illusion up, and that one does not. Yeah, it just doesn't do it for me.
It's incredible.
I'm really this took a turn. This took a tangent that I could not even expect. And I'm here for it.
I only come on this show once in a while because I derail everything, and
no, it's good.
It goes to places.
You're making me want to go sign up for Peacock Plus or whatever Catfish is on, and just binge a few episodes.
I thought you were going to say it makes you want to be on
Peacock Plus because they have the Saved by the Bell remake thing going on.
Oh,
but
great!
I'm not signing up for another service. Okay, I have too much going on.
They'll never get me, he said, until something cool
remake?
came on.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, yeah, stats are cool.
Stats are cool.
That's a good answer.
See how you spent your time at the end of the year, because I think we forget things like Slay the Spire, for instance. I forgot how like engaged I was with that game at the beginning of the year, because I'd come off playing Hades and I was like, I need another game that has a fun loop that I can just like try a run here and there, and I picked
Yeah.
that up, and like God, that was how I started my mornings. That was how I ended my days. And so it's been so long because I think I bounced off of it around like March or something that I just totally blocked that period of my life. Not because I wanted to, but just because so many other games came out. So it was a nice little reminder that game really like got its hooks in me in the beginning of the year.
There you go. Nice.
What were
Marcus?
surprises? Did you guys have any surprises on your stats?
I had one, at least for I've only looked at my Nintendo one yet. I haven't looked at. I keep forgetting to look at the Xbox ones. I heard they did like the cool museum thing or whatever
I
it
didn't
was.
look at that.
That's like your lifetime on Xbox, though. That's not this year.
Oh,
yet,
okay.
Which is still cool. Like
That's still
you
pretty,
know,
that's
yeah.
pretty cool.
Mhm.
So for Switch, like my most played, which isn't surprising if you know me, was Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Link,
Yeah.
Evolution, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Because that is my NHL, Kim. Like that is my I just
Nice.
want to play a game and I don't really know what I want to play specifically. So this is the default, like because I can play Yu-Gi-Oh! With my eyes closed at this point.
You made me put that on the anime games list because I had to write about it. So
Yeah, I did.
I
force you
learned
to do
about
that,
it for
yes.
you.
It's
Just
like
for
what do
you.
like this
These-
list
yeah,
is
these-
not legitimate without this entry.
These will be known as catfish games in the future. Because you keep playing while watching catfish.
Yeah, I put on Catfish and was like, "This is a great show to summon a dark magician to." Let's see. I think my second was Unsighted, and I think it's because that was a review
You
game.
love that game though.
Yeah.
That game is very good. And more people should play it. And then the third one, I was like, I forgot that I played it, and I never finished it. But it was that Rogue Heroes game, that like Zelda roguelike game from like earlier in the year. I think you reviewed it, Dan.
Which one?
Rogue Heroes, Ruins of Tassos.
Yeah, I did review that.
Yeah, like that was my third most played Switch game. I was like, really? It's like I did play a lot of it. I still have not finished it. I'm pretty far into it, and it's just other stuff started coming out.
Yeah.
But I think the coolest thing about those stats thing is that they keep track of things that I wouldn't think to keep track of. Like, they do the basic things like, oh, most games or most hours, but then they'll throw something in like, hey, oh, this is how much time you played docked versus undocked. I was like, oh, I never really thought about it. Like mine was pretty even. I am pretty even on Switch, TV and docked, or just like comparing your stats to last year. Like my weird bar graph was like a half pipe shape, where like apparently in the beginning of the year I was like up here, and then the summer months were like dead, and then it rose back up towards the end. I was like, so it makes you think like, what happened? Like, why did what influenced that behavior? That's interesting.
Switch had a rough 3 or 4 months. I know Skyward Sword came out, but like June to August or even September was probably the least I've ever played my Switch. So I feel you on that for sure.
Yeah, because like outside of Pokemon Snap, that was probably the bigged thing, at least for me, that I was playing or that I wanted to play pretty much, because I wasn't interested in Skyward Sword. I'd already played it, so
You're like, I don't need to do that again.
yeah, 50 hours of that is like that's enough one time. But yeah, like when you can make stats interesting, like throw in some weird statistics and not just the expected stuff, then I think that makes it a lot more fun.
Yeah, definitely. I was shocked, Kim, to answer your question quick. I was shocked that my number 2 game was Pokemon Diamond, which I was like, cool. My third game though was Bravely Default 2. And apparently I put 25 hours into it. I was like,
I didn't even know you played that.
Did I? I forgot.
Yeah, I also didn't know you played it.
I remember Alex being really into that in the beginning of the year.
I really, really liked it. I liked the characters. And then I just didn't. And then it fell off. And I was like,
and then I hated this.
Because it's the thing where I've done with a bunch of Dark Souls stuff too, where it's like I make the mistake of going to how long to beat, and I'm like, I'm feeling good about my playthrough.
Don't ever go there.
87 hours to like do the traditional run. And I'm like, well,
so
I'm
nothing
done.
to do with the game itself, just like this is too long.
If I
you
see
can do
the
it
road is
faster
too
than
long,
that.
I know, but yeah. So Alex, did you chime in with your statty stats here?
I haven't. I am a big fan of stats. I was pulling them up while everybody else was talking. Number one, just in general, like even if it's not end of the year stuff, like stats, especially in like ranked games, I'm a big fan of. Like I pulled up I'm back into Fortnite again. No surprise. New season's great. And I was looking at my stats earlier today. I'm at a 2.5 KD for the new season. Feeling very good. 20% win rate. So I love stats. I don't like stats that make me look bad. I only like stats that make me look good. So I won't tell you my stats for Halo right now because it's depressing. And then, but as far as like end of the year stuff, I do like end of the year stuff. Spotify always surprises me. I'm like, oh, I feel like it would have been this thing, and this thing's like not even on my top 5. But we've been talking a lot about Switch. I didn't play as much Switch this year as everybody else. I played 101 hours of my Switch compared to last year. I think I played like 248 because of Animal Crossing. I think Animal Crossing
And
accounted for
Hades.
178. Yeah. And Hades
yeah.
was probably the rest.
Mhm.
This year I played, my most played game was Pokemon Unite. I played for 21 hours.
Nice.
Then Monster Hunter Rise at 17, Into the Breach at 11 hours. And
Surprising. Okay.
those are my top 3. So
Cool. Yeah.
yeah.
Yay, end of year stats. I'm excited. I think Xbox was the most I played the console I played the most this year. So I'm excited to see when they do, because I think they do some as well. I know PlayStation does. So yay stats. Cool. Great question. Thank you. Thank you very much, Cody. Last one for the day, and we'll get you out of here. Big Slice Gaming in the house from Discord says, with the Game Awards behind us, what's your retrospective on this year in games as well as this year's award show? They also asked about like our goty for 2022. We actually answered that on last week's show, so you can go back and look at that. But if you're hungry for 2022, like look ahead, we're gonna do an episode on that in the next either 2 or 3 weeks. We haven't decided what week we're gonna do it, but that's always a classic episode of the GI show of just like going down the list of 2022 games. So coming soon, friends. And a couple of you asked about 2022 games coming soon. Very excited. So
This month.
This month, yes. But I ask you, friends, because I feel like, and I think y'all have seen the comments too, where it's like, dead year. There was no good games this year. What the hell? And I actually like disagree to the fullest extent.
Yeah.
I think this was a fantastic year for games. I don't know if anyone wants to jump in
I
on that.
Oh no, go Kim.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. No, I would say I think people did forget that the first like 3 months of this year were actually kind of dead. That was when, at least on the AAA side, like outside of Hitman at the end of January, it was kind of indies that were kind of propping up those first few with like Loop Hero and stuff. But what I remember most from those months were, oh, not much coming out, and oh, everything's getting delayed every week. Like everything's coming out next year now, I see.
And then stuff picked up in March, yeah. Was it March with Resident Evil and all that?
That was April.
Was it April?
Yeah, because April was Outriders and Resident Evil. So I think.
All right, April.
Yeah, like late March would. Yeah, because It Takes Two, I believe, was March. But yeah, I think that stigma kind of lingered throughout the year of like, oh, what a lousy year. There wasn't anything, even though stuff started happening eventually.
I agree, and I do think you brought up indies. I think this is one of the best year for indies we've had in a while because we got Inscription, Sable, not It Takes Two. That's
Before Your Eyes.
Before Your Eyes.
Chicory.
Yep. A lot of a really amazing experience. Loop Hero. That I think really saved the year because I agree. Like it was delays, but I do think that at least gave me time to experience some of these smaller studios and like some all-timers. I think Before Your Eyes is an all-timer. I think Inscription is an all-timer.
Death's Door is amazing.
Death's Door, yep. Like there's so many good things. 12 Minutes, Alex's favorite indie game of the year.
Yeah.
Wait, hold up.
Family game of the year.
Yeah, family.
Yeah. Let's not go with that, please. No.
Yeah, please, God.
I think this might be my favorite year since 2017.
Really? Wow.
There's a lot that resonated with me. Arcane's like top, maybe my number 1 studio, and so we got a new Arcane game. Halo's back. Halo is like my all-time favorite series.
Yep.
Death's Door was great. Resident Evil Village. That's my first Resident Evil game I've played since 5.
So good.
So Hitman, I love Hitman. It was a great year for me.
Yeah. Well, and Tack too. You had some picks on your top 10 list that I think you would agree, right? Like, and you had like Wildermyth.
This is what I would say about this situation: is that if you're only looking at AAA experiences that push the boundaries of the current console generation, then yeah, you're probably pretty disappointed right now. But the gaming is a very, very large and diversified bucket at this point that has tons of awesome and unique experiences out there to explore. I say, do so. There are things outside of those games. Those awesome AAA tentpole games are great. If they're not coming out, if they're delayed, maybe it's time to explore elsewhere because there's a lot of really great stuff out there that you miss and you might actually freaking love. So get out there, push boundaries, and try something new. There's a constant stream of games coming out. I can't go a week without playing something new.
Yeah, that's a good point. I forgot that this is technically the first full year of the
Yeah.
current generation of consoles, and it honestly doesn't feel like it because both consoles are still almost impossible to find. Like it still
Yeah.
feels like we're in that first few months of launch. So maybe things feel stalled because of that too. Like we're in this
Yeah.
weird kind of purgatory right now because you're waiting for everything to start taking off the way it normally does. So yeah, I think that, and people's just general frustration that don't have either box of having to sit back for a year and
Yeah.
refresh websites every day trying to
Yeah.
find one. And then especially on the PlayStation side, because I think PlayStation out of the three probably had the strongest first party stuff, at least throughout the year. Like Microsoft kind of came at the end with Forza and Halo and Psychonauts, but
And Psychonauts, yeah.
Returnal and Deathloop and Ratchet and Clank,
Yeah.
excuse me, those coming earlier and a little more evenly distributed. I think that helped a lot. Yeah, I think it was a good year overall, but it was also a very weird, atypical year just because of a console cycle isn't normally supposed to be like this because of a pandemic and a giant chip shortage.
Yeah. But also I will say I feel like this first year of almost any launch system is weird. It was just exasperated by, the pandemic, like we said. So I do think once we get a couple years away from this year, I think people will appreciate it a little bit more because that salt isn't there about not getting the consoles. And, hopefully in the next 3 years, the pandemic will fully be behind us, but we'll see. But
Curing it right now.
yeah, right now. Yeah. Any parting thoughts before we say goodbye
I
here?
mean, it was a better year than I was expecting, to be honest. And I feel like, yeah, we got some great games from both Sony and Microsoft. I think I don't know if this happened to you guys, but towards the end of the year when we were dealing with all that controversy and stuff coming out, with Activision Blizzard and all that, it is hard to love games at that time and feel good about them. And I mean, there's just I feel like we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about that does kind of affect the tone and mood and whatever, and it makes things a little bit when you start to see some of the stuff going on that you don't like about how games are made and how they're operated and how things need to be better. It makes it hard to celebrate some of them, especially those that are worked on by those. So I know that I'm ending on a downer, and I know I'm walking into controversy a little bit here, but I just want I'm gonna admit it. I was bummed out towards the end of the year with that stuff, and it made it difficult for me a little bit sometimes. But I'm happy that at the same time we've had some great experiences come out, and some other games that I think in other years maybe wouldn't get as much of a look. And it, like I said, it was an interesting year to look back on, but you can't deny that kind of had a little bit of a dark cloud over the end months of this past year, and it made it hard to feel good about stuff going on at all.
No, for sure. That's a good call out.
Very well said.
That is easily the biggest news story of this year is that stuff. Unfortunately. Yeah. Did we answer what was the Game Awards part of that question? Was it
how we felt about it?
I think if we want to be brief about it, because I think in the last episode we did a lot of talking about TGAs in general, but yeah, especially Alex, Dan, and Kim, who weren't on the last episode. If you want to give your thoughts on the show in general, be my guest.
Well, if you covered it last week, you covered it last week. That's cool.
Okay. I thought
a little long. I think it should be a little more succinct. If it's just going to be announcements, I think there should be more focus on the awards. That'd be my preference. I think, when I watch the Oscars, I'm not getting new game trailers yet. I'm sitting there on my couch for hours because I want to see the things that I love win the award, right?
Yeah.
So I would love to see more of a focus on that. So
Yeah.
and if you are going to do announcements,
bill
make
it as
them-
December's E3. Just like say
Yeah.
that.
Less
I
E3
feel-
conference and more award show.
I feel like the reveals took away from the awards, and I loved some of those reveals. Like, hell yes, a Wonder Woman game. I've been asking
Yeah.
for that for years. I've been on this podcast
Me too.
talking about wanting that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we like
Heck yeah.
that's exciting, but at the same time, I found that I was paying more attention or watching more because of those reveals than the awards, just because it was so long and so hard to keep up. I couldn't keep up with everything, but I was also working the show and trying to write stuff as fast as I could in the middle of it. But I did feel like at the time, it's like, it's hard to go from like surprise reveal to then be like, oh, here's the award for this. And then those like just get announced and go very fast. And
Blink
so,
if you miss it.
yeah, exactly. I
Right.
felt like the awards should be about the awards, you know. I didn't mind having maybe like a few, like one or two things in there, but when you have so much and it's constant, it was just like overload.
Yeah.
And like I said, I loved having seen games announced. I love that excitement of not knowing what's going to happen and finally getting something cool like we did with Wonder Woman, but it definitely made the awards feel like they were, you know, second fiddle to that stuff.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it was one of Keeley's best shows, but he's still's got a way to go, and his team. So, yeah, we'll see what Summer Games Fest and next year's show brings. He's listened to feedback over the his span, so I'm curious to see how the show continues to evolve. So,
yeah.
Alrighty, that's another show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching, listening. We appreciate you so much. If you enjoyed the show, it means the world to us if you subscribe on iTunes, follow on Spotify, leave us a review. That stuff helps immensely, and we thank you for everyone who has done it in the past. So, be good to one another. We will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye, everyone.